Rugby League on Sky Sports. Sponsored by Stan James, the sports bookmaker. Whatever your sport.
Welcome to Spotland Stadium, Rochdale, home to the Rochdale Hornets, who tonight entertain the Dewsbury Rams in our latest offering from the National League Division 1. Rochdale threatened by relegation with a new coach at the helm, Dewsbury hoping to cement a place in the top 6. The whole match is on the way now in the company of Terry O'Connor, Phil Clark and first Bill Arthur.
It's a beautiful sunlit evening here at Spotland, but you thought you'd never hear that this summer. But it really is a magnificent evening, a magnificent pitch prepared for this National League 1 encounter. And it's a big night for the Rochdale Hornets because they have a new coach in charge, and Gary Hulse is the full-back for Sean Gartland. Eric Andrews, Ian Marsh, Mark Blanchard and Bolo Fagboran, Wayne Corcoran and Phil Hasty. In the forwards, Rob Ball, Todd O'Brien, Byron Smith, Ryan Benjafield, Andy Bailey and Andy Gorski, the captain at loose forward. On the bench for Hornets, Eric Johnson, Mark McCulley, Craig Robinson and Paul Norman, and the coach is Sean Gartland, his first game in charge. Dewsbury Rams have Chris Hall at fullback, Bryn Powell, Sid Domick making his debut for the club, Danny Morn, Austin Buchanan, Pat Walker and Dean Lawford, the captain. In the forwards, Andy Hobson, Liam Finn, Dominic Maloney, Martin Robinson, Alex Bretherton and Josh Whedon back in the side. On the bench, Francis Maloney, Kevin Crowthers, Joe Helm and Jason Southwell for coach Andy Kelly. There is Sid Domick getting his first start for his new club, and Domick, of course, released by Hull FC to make way for their new signing. And in fact, when then Richard Swain was forced to retire, I think there was a suggestion that they'd want Sid Domick to change his mind and come back. But being a man of his word, Sid Domick decided to go with the Dewsbury Rams, and they've got his work permit through, and he's able to play tonight. And here is the Rochdale side. A Rochdale side, of course, that is missing several players. There have been departures. The coach, of course, Darren Abram, previous coach, among those departures. Sean Gartland inheriting a side that is missing several names. It's a tough start for the new coach, Phil.
It is a difficult start. You very often see in sport, though, a lift from the players, and I suspect we'll see that here. Stable team, though, in the Dewsbury Rams, and one with probably the most experienced player in this division, as we've seen in Sid Domick.
David Merrick is the referee. Terry, the latest withdrawal from the side tonight, Simon Baldwin was pulled out with an injury problem, but the word is that he's probably on his way as well.
Simon Baldwin's going to be a big loss, as Kevin King as well, who needs a shoulder operation, and losing the skipper Dave McConnell and Chris Giles. It's going to be a very tough ask, and they need the senior players to stand up, and there's the new coach, and see if he's got the team revved up for this game, so it's going to be a big clash.
Well, he's been moved up from coaching the under-21 side here at Rochdale, Sean Gartland, and he'll be hoping that this side can rev up for this, because if they could win this game, it could turn their whole season round. They could move up as high as 7th in the table after this one, and it's Rochdale who get us underway, and Andy Hobson taking the ball up for the Dewsbury Rams. And Dewsbury with a bit of a score to settle, having been beaten by Rochdale earlier in the season. One of only 3 wins for the Rochdale side this season. So they'll be looking for a bit of revenge. They're also looking for victory. They've been on Sky, I think, 3 times this season, Dewsbury, and yet to win a game. Andy Kelly beginning to wonder whether we've jinxed him. Well, tonight maybe we'll find out.
Well, this team are clearly the favourites, but you just look at the enthusiasm. Initial enthusiasm from Rochdale is good. 4 men in a tackle. They're really trying to control and get into the game early. Very compressed defence, but good meters made by Dewsbury to get up and over the halfway line.
Lawford will put the kick in. Interesting that Andy Kelly has decided that in order to accommodate Sid Domick, it's going to be Francis Maloney who has to make way, and he's on the bench for the Dewsbury Rams, with Pat Walker starting at standoff.
Well, the benefit there immediately for Andy Kelly is the competition for players invariably brings the best out of the other players in the side. Everybody knows they have to be on the toes and perform at the best if they want to be picked for next week's game, and Andy Kelly has that luxury here tonight.
That's big defence from the Dewsbury Rams. Hobson really putting his shoulder in there. And it needs a good start, you feel, from this Rochdale side. Confidence will be fragile with only one win in the last 6 games. As Hasty puts the kick in. And it's Chris Hall at full back for this Dewsbury side. We've seen Ian Priest in recent weeks, who's a really game performer, but his form has dropped recently, so Chris Hall has got the nod tonight.
This is a big thing that Rochdale need to concentrate on in the game, as you see a good shot there. They need to come up with a good kick chase and keep Dewsbury penned in their own 20, because they've got some footballers who'll attack from anywhere, and once they get in the Rochdale half, they'll find it very hard to contain them.
Of course, the name being linked with the Rochdale vacancy after Darren Abram was moved on was Bobby Goulding, and it almost seemed at the start of this week as though Bobby Goulding would return to take over the coaching job at Rochdale, but that wasn't to be. Couldn't agree terms with the Rochdale board, and so Sean Gartland's got the job. Lawford hoists the kick. I think the chasers were probably offside there. Fagboran comes for that. He's lost it. Picked up by Pat Walker, and they'll take the knock on.
What a superb kick there by Lawford. You knew as soon as it went up it was going to cause problems, because both Fagboran and Holtz were undecided who was going for the ball. Eventually it was Fagboran who went for the ball, sun in his eyes as the ball came down here now, struggling to get there, bounced off his chest into the arms of Walker, trying to get the pass around the corner for the first try, but it went forward and Dominic was denied. That was
a let-off for the Rochdale Hornets, because if Walker could have found a colleague with that, they were in, but in the end it's Rochdale who get head and feet at the scrum and are able to clear their lines. But Fagboran, he did well to get that ball away. He was being lifted in the tackle, and Hasty, well, he's brought them back for obstruction, I think.
Well, you do technically see that happen quite a bit now. Even if the player is unimpeded, if you run behind one of your own teammates, the referee tends to penalise for an obstruction. Didn't seem as though anybody had been prevented from getting to Hasty, but it's irrelevant now, as Dewsbury are just 10 metres from the try line.
Well, Rochdale thought they got out of trouble there, but then they find themselves again on the receiving end as Hobson drives it up the middle. Byron Smith in there with the tackle. Desperate defence here. They could be in, they are in. Can he get that ball down? Dominic Maloney. He has done, right under the nose of referee David Merrick, and Maloney gets the first try of the game, and a harsh call probably Rochdale will feel there. The penalty awarded for obstruction. Hasty trying to clear his lines, and then straight up the middle, Hobson with the first drive, and then Dominic Maloney, this young prop forward, has been a real revelation as the season has gone on for Dewsbury.
Well, Rochdale had attempted to keep the ball alive. Fagboran offloaded to Hasty. He unfortunately went behind one of his teammates, and immediately the referee penalised it. With good field position, as Terry's pointed out, Dewsbury are a dangerous side. Dummy half run to a player running into space, and as Maloney goes over the line, it's impossible for him to be stopped.
20th consecutive start for Maloney. He's certainly established himself, and now he's got his first try of the season. And it's Liam Finn who's got the goal kicking duties, and this is a good way to get on the target early on. Bang between the uprights, and Dewsbury take a 6-0 lead here at Spotland.
Here it is. When the dummy half gets out of there, the defence can't get off the line and the markers can't control the hooker, then you're in all sorts of trouble, particularly when you have enthusiastic players running into holes in the defensive line. Dewsbury perfected that early in the game, and it's given them a 6-0 lead. I think it's important when you come to this situation, and it's not exactly what Gartland wanted as his first game in charge. The Rochdale side needed a strong and positive start, particularly for their own confidence. Conceding the first try is quite the reverse of that.
Here's Danny Morn.
Doesn't that just go to show that what Dewsbury are going to do? Dean Lawford there, electing to go for the penalty with just 20, probably in front of the sticks, 20 yards out, but having the confidence to go and know that they're going to be putting Rochdale under the cosh all night.
Here's Walker. Hobson turning into the tackle right on the halfway line for the Dewsbury Rams. And then a kick which Gary Hulse will have to play out. He thought it was maybe going to find touch.
Well, the kicking game from Dewsbury has been first class, real top level. The high one was difficult. Now the one in the field is getting fantastic field position. It's such a difficult skill not to kick the ball to defender. And there now is the handling error. That's the effort Dewsbury put into the defence. Again, they're going to get possession from this scrum. Hobson backslapping his teammates all around. Aggression in the tackle. Byron Smith as well involved there. Just loses possession as he takes the ball to the line. Just too much aggression for Dewsbury, and Smith couldn't handle it.
And so Dewsbury in a great position again, and they could be in once more as Domick gets his first touch of the ball. What a great character to have into your side. Such enthusiasm from Sid Domick. Just coming back after a hamstring injury, but he's trained fully with the side this week. Dewsbury camped right on that Rochdale line. Lawford now, Walker, he's got options. One of them is the fullback Chris Hall, and Hall will get the second try of this game. And they were queuing up for that one with the Dewsbury Rams. And Chris Hall restored to the side, the former Leeds Tykes player, gets his third try of the season. And it was any one of a number of players who could have scored that one.
Well, the first try was a simple one, wasn't it? In and around the ruck area. Here they're showing us the skills to move the ball wide. You've got several options there with the runner. Hall times his run to perfection. Comes on a second man play. The ball going behind one of his teammates. And then they're just the defenders that aren't able to cope with his pace. Again, close to the try line. If you break the line, you're over it and you're in for the first try. Good effort here, moving the ball from right. They came up with a field position because of their effort in defence, forcing the ball out from Smith, and Hall capitalises on that.
24 years old now, Chris Hall, and recruited from Hunslet, and taking the place of Ian Priest in the Dewsbury lineup this evening as Andy Kelly just tweaks his side a bit. And now Liam Finn, one success so far. Thought he was playing golf then. He was just picking up a bit of grass out of the line of his ball. He'll swing this kick in, and it looks as though he's got that one on target as well. And Dewsbury taking a grip on this game early on. They're 12-0 up. Two very well constructed tries for Andy Kelly's side. And as I said, a bit of a score to settle, having lost earlier on in the season to this Rochdale side, 36-24. And they've certainly set about them early on. So Rochdale had problems before this game. They've got even more now.
You know, about half of all rugby league tries are scored when you have the ball close to your opponent's try line. On the two occasions Dewsbury have been down to their opponent's try line, they've registered points, and that's such a positive start for Andy Kelly and his teammates. They've approached this game in the right frame of mind, clinically aware that they have to put Rochdale away early on.
Probably a dangerous game for them, Phil, coming into this game with the sacking of the coach and a new coach coming in. But it's only a small pitch this at Scotland at Rochdale. It's probably about 18 metres shorter, so the kicking game is vitally important and challenging Rochdale to bring the ball out, and that's where they forced the mistake.
Andy Bailey makes the tackle on Chris Hall. Well, Rochdale have, I think, only had the ball a couple of times, and they've knocked on both occasions and conceded a penalty as well. So they've yet to complete a set of six by the look of things. Gary Hulse, faced by Austin Buchanan, manages to get away from him.
I suppose the team needs two key things, doesn't it, on the last play. If they put the ball deep, they need the chasers to follow down, and Dewsbury have done that well on both occasions when they've kicked for field position.
Boots and all to come later on after the completion of this game, and the pot still very much boiling on the issue of the salary cap, and that was the email address there, bootsandall@sky.com, and the printer is oiled and waiting. I think we've had to put more ink into it after last week, and that's great defence from the Dewsbury Rams. Bolafag-Boren, I beg your pardon, it wasn't. It was Dewsbury with the tackle. Corcoran it was who ended up in touch.
Well, what can you do there? It's hard to play against a team that have that desire in defence. Look, Domick, famous for it, picking, lifting and driving Corcoran over the sideline. Again, Rochdale cannot get possession in their opponent's half. Grim Powell as well involved there. Good work on the right wing from him.
Danny Moore now for the Dewsbury Rams. That was high. It was Ian Marsh with the tackle. Doesn't dispute the decision. Almost missed, he was so high. Lawford then finds a good touch for the Dewsbury Rams, and once again they're threatening this Rochdale line. The tap on that 10-metre line. Finn. Dominic Maloney hitting and spinning. He's got to have caught the eye, I'd guess, of one or two Super League clubs with the form he's been in. Hobson, who has been in Super League, knows all about it, a seasoned campaigner, right underneath those posts now. Lawford changing direction. Walker a little step, trying to stretch out, just managing to stop him there, Corcoran. So Lawford brings it across to the left. Lovely step from Liam Finn. But valiant defence from this Rochdale side. Gary Holtz managing to turn him onto his back. Walker. Little show and almost to the line by Josh Whedon, but he's tackled just short. And they're camped on the line. They could be in here. Can they hold him up? I think he got that ball down, Alex Bretherton. He just manages to stretch an arm out. Well, that was great work, because Rochdale thought they'd driven him back and held him up in the protest, but then the hand snapped out from Bretherton. He plonked the ball down just on the line, and the Rams supporters have seen their side really take a grip on this game now.
Well, again, Rochdale found themselves having to defend on their own line because of the concession of a penalty for a high tackle. An excellent kick by Lawford got them to the try line, and I thought Rochdale did incredibly well. After 5 tackles of defending the line, I think they even thought they'd done enough. But Bretherton's simple play, probably the easiest one to defend of the whole 5, was the one that he got over and got the ball down. Excellent effort from him to reach out in the in-goal area and ground the ball for the 3rd try.
Alex Bretherton getting his 5th try of the season. And it's a pretty demoralising start for this Rochdale side, who've had a pretty demoralising run in National League 1. And they've got some work to do now if they're going to get out of the hole that they already find themselves in. And Liam Finn, 100% record so far. And the way he's been kicking, you'd probably fancy him to land this one, which he does. And Dewsbury ahead by 18 points to 0.
Sean Garland will be very upset here. They say about the try that Alex scores here, that the most important man on the pitch is the man with the ball in hand. And to come up with a soft try like that, especially camped on your own line, he'll be very disappointed with Sean Garland.
No penalties. Let's go.
And Rochdale haven't managed to put this Dewsbury defence under any pressure so far in the opening 14 minutes of this game. It's all been down in the Rochdale half, and it's all been the Dewsbury Rams, and they really are making hay while the sun is shining here at Spotland.
And even on 14 minutes, they look the more fitter and they look the more impressive with the ball in hand, because they're the fresher side. They're not in the ruck, and they're not tackling, not defending. Where you look at the way Rochdale defending seem to be losing the ruck, and they just can't get back.
Great goal, good work.
Here's Liam Finn, just over the halfway line.
Go.
Now Maloney.
That's exactly what I mean. That's the second hit up Dominic Maloney's took in this set.
Go.
Lawford will kick, and he'll again look to put Bolafagboran under a little bit of pressure, but Dominic has knocked that one on, and the referee will bring it back. He was trying to knock it back, was Dominic, but it went forward.
Well, there are times in a game of rugby league when your opponents have the momentum behind you, and it's just a matter of time before you can maybe get a break in play and get your hands on the ball themselves. It might be 15 minutes now for Rochdale. That could be just the break that they want to hear now, but they need to be strong and positive in this set and get downfield. They've lost possession, and that's about the last thing they wanted.
Oh, this is disastrous for this Rochdale side.
You have to admire, though, Dewsbury's control. Even on the back of that knock-on from Dominic on the last play, they then up their effort in defence. Liam Finn, almost a bear hug, isn't it, to Rob Ball as he throws him to the ground. And Rochdale just can't cope with the physicality from the Dewsbury Rams.
And what's hurting them, Phil, is every time they make a mistake, it's in their own 40.
They almost couldn't cope with Josh Whedon there. Now here is Dominic. Familiar scrum-capped figure out there in the centres. Been a great favourite at the Super League clubs he's served as Maloney comes looking for a second try. Tackled about 5 metres out. Lawford is with Martin Robinson now. Robinson tackled just short of the line. Finn down the short side. Danny Morn trying to stretch over. They've got him held up there. Well, he's right on the try line, in fact, on the 5th tackle that time. Lawford under pressure from Hasty. Hasty did well, but they could be in again here. They almost were as Chris Hall flung that ball away, and it'll be the turnover. No advantage gain there from that knock-on.
Dewsbury have such a variety of options, don't they, when they're attacking in the line. Every player offered himself as a threat, and they've looked dangerous even on that occasion, and Rochdale having to scramble to survive.
Go.
Ball.
Release.
They'd just be glad to complete a set of 6. They've got a penalty. Well, that'll lift the spirits. Allow Rochdale to make a bit of ground up the field. Pat Walker penalised.
Even if it's 5 drives and a kick in this set of 6, and they just get back up there and they just keep Dewsbury pending their own terrain, that's all they need. They need to get the energy levels up, because at the minute they just look as though they've got no energy whatsoever. There's a good shot there by Dominic Maloney.
Byron Smith driven back. Ooh, that looked high by Hobson, it was, and Ball it was who was on the receiving end.
I think the one thing they need to find is a bit of aggression, sometimes even in the running. I'm not having it that Dewsbury are that much stronger than the Rochdale players, but on nearly every occasion Rochdale are being driven back in the tackle. There's the high slap from Andy Hobson around Rob Ball's cheeks.
So it's a second successive penalty for Rochdale, which moves them down into uncharted territory. That Dewsbury 20-metre line. Now then, can they convert this possession and territory into points? Gorski, the captain, finds himself back on the 20-metre line. Byron Smith now. Good step from Smith and good work from the prop. Beat a couple of Dewsbury players there to take this Rochdale side closer to their target. Hasty shows it. Still going, Hasty. Now they're just a couple of metres away. They go down the short side. Hulse puts a kick in, and Lawford is there to field it and does well there. Was that the right option from Gary Hulse?
Well, it was, because they're defending them there on their own line in the corner, and they've come up with a mistake there nearly.
Knock on in goal.
Yeah, they come with a mistake, so they get the drop goal out here. So yeah, it was the right decision, Bill. What do you think now?
Oh, absolutely. Great foresight from Gary Hulse that time.
I don't think Bretherton was expecting the pass from Austin Buchanan, was he? And this is a mistake. It's a little soft kick. Lawford does well, doesn't he? Spins and twists and gets back into the field of play. But then typically Bretherton expected a run from dummy half, as you tend to see from wingers. As it was, Buchanan fancied the pass option. And now it's Rob Ball again in action.
Dewsbury supporters thinking that ball from Gary Hulse went forward, but the referee played on. Ball took the tackle. Now Gorski, this is good pressure from Rochdale, the first bit of sustained pressure from this Hornets side. Here's Byron Smith again. He's dumped to the ground, but the ball went backwards and the referee said knock on.
I'm not sure whether that was a knock on, was it? The crowd could agree with me there as well, as he takes the ball and looks to offload the ball. Surely that went backwards.
I think it was an intentional offload, wasn't it? He throwing the ball with his right hand. It's a good tackle again by Maloney. Dominic Maloney's hitting up underneath the ball, driving with his legs, and you've always got a chance of forcing an error if you do that, Terry.
He is a player who's playing with confidence, Dominic Maloney, isn't he? From the games that we've seen on Sky Sports, he seems to have no respect for his body, the way he drives the ball in. Only at tender age of 19 as well. He's a great prospect for the future.
You do get a bit more respect for your body as you go on, presumably.
I did. I think I got cleverer.
Dewsbury on the attack. Buchanan now. And Hulse brings him to ground. It needed a good tackle from Gary Hulse that time. And he manages to delay it a little bit longer. Lawford. Chris Hall.
Stand, Andy Bailey.
Pace about this Dewsbury attack. Good defence from Ian Marsh that time. Liam Finn. Finn finds Joe Helm, who's on the field for the Dewsbury Rams. Former York City Knight. Helm. Walker finds Josh Whedon. Whedon back on the inside to Sid Domick, and Domick will get his first try for his new club. carving his way through the Rochdale ranks that time, back on the inside, and Domic off the mark, and already delighting the Dewsbury supporters with that try. But it was good work again from Pat Walker in creating that one. And Sid Domic, 32 years old, signed from Hull FC, with the try under the posts.
Well, great interplay between the two wingers. Both Bryn Powell from the right wing who brought through the line, and then his left wing partner, Austin Buchanan, there in support. That's a great sign when you've got players wanting to follow and support the ball. And they then had the Dewsbury side going on the back foot. But then here, look at the timing and the angle of run by Domic. The determination on his face told you he was determined to score. And once the ball was turned back inside, well, all of the Rochdale defenders sliding out towards the far touchline. The ball back inside from Josh Whedon, and it was an easy walk in then for Domic.
And Liam Finn, 3 from 3. And this one again right in front of the posts. His target angle, what would that be at that particular point?
I think greater than 11 degrees,
he's just got his logarithms out. Click, click.
We know that it was greater than 11 degrees, and they're the easy ones.
Right. Andy Kelly. Well, it's not nail-biting for the Dewsbury Rams, that's for sure.
He looks worried as well, though, doesn't he?
See what's a good little fascination for him now is how long his side can keep the concentration and keep the control of this game. They have full control at the moment. I just thought that interesting how he brought Joe Helm on to keep the side going forward. The big fellow in the middle of the field, punching them downfield. Here he is again. That's a charge.
That's a good hit as well. The Rochdale fans like that. It's a bit more like it, and another one.
That's what they need to find, a bit of aggression. They've nothing to lose here. Their opponents are scoring at more than a point a minute. You've got to meet fire with fire.
But it's Dewsbury on the attack again. That ball went forward. Liam Finn not impressed with that decision. But in fact, Josh Whedon was ahead of him when he took that pass. Couldn't see it from that angle, but the previous one.
What angle could you see it from?
The angle of my eyes.
Oh no, that was forward.
Could you see that one?
Well, I think everybody saw that one. Even Andy Goski knew through it. First tackle.
But that's a team that's under pressure. A team that's like trying to score a try in the opposition 40, not setting up for the play. Whereas Dewsbury are just playing with that confidence where they can offload the ball. And I disagree with you on that last one, Bill. I don't think it was forward.
Well, it's history. Dewsbury are back in possession and looking for more points. And Rochdale looking just to stem the tide, really. Helm. He's tackled. Ian Marsh was in there. Robinson. Liam Finn now. Dean Lawford, the string puller in chief for this Dewsbury side. Helm almost got away.
Well done, mate, well done.
But Craig Robinson just got a hold of him in time. Now Fagboran is under a little bit of pressure from Bryn Powell. It's gone forward off Powell. And Rochdale tidy it up. Here is Bolo Fagboran.
But you see, he's driven backwards, isn't it? He gets up there, challenges for the line back. He probably cleverly knocks it back to his teammate, doesn't he? They can't get forward, though. It's not as easy, is it? The timing of the runs, the passing the ball back a few metres.
That's a better run though by Paul Nolan, landing on his front, getting a quick play of the ball. Gary Hult's there to beat a couple of defenders.
That's a good ball from Hulse, and Hasty was on the end of it. He's lost it. It's gone backwards. No, the knock-on, says the referee. Hulse is still down in back play.
Actually, they've shown us that they can play rugby, they can keep the ball alive, but they've played too much of it in their own half. And ultimately, it's why the Dewsbury Rams have 24 points on the scoreboard.
Prolific point scorer Phil Hasty, but no chance of that so far tonight for this Rochdale side. Buchanan in from his wing to take that ball from Walker. But there's 3 Rochdale players to wrap him up there. Walker finds Sid Domic, and Domic really is like a bull charging at that Rochdale defence. Just head straight for where the action is. Bretherton.
I didn't go behind him.
Finn now.
Four, release! Working here.
And they're right in front of those Rochdale posts. And a simple pass, and Robinson stretches out to get another try for the Dewsbury Rams. His third try of the season. And he had a bit of work to do to score that one. It looked as though he was going to be tackled short of the line.
Well, very often in defence you overread the play, don't you? You expect it's going to go wide. It was a short, easier pass, the one time to perfection by the second rower, Martin Robinson. He's worked hard in defence on this left side. He's looked a threat, and I think the timing of the run from the Dewsbury players has been the biggest difference between the two teams. Hit the ball at perfect speed, took the ball with the determination to break through the tackle and crash over the line. Again, field position, the killer. Getting the ball close to your opponent's line means you've always got a better chance of scoring in that set.
Martin Robinson immediately earning himself a breather. He's gone off the field. Liam Finn will meanwhile attempt to convert his try. Kevin Crowther's coming on in place of Robinson. And Finn maintains his 100% record, thumps that one home. 30 points to nil, Dewsbury Rams lead already. And among the crowd here, Paul Sculthorpe and Danny Sculthorpe, and the brothers will be on the field at half-time here to make a presentation. Danny Sculthorpe, former player here. And Sean Gartland, well, he knew he'd inherited a difficult task here, and he's not wrong.
That try come out, Pat Walker running to the line, and he had probably 5 or 6 players outside him, which enabled Martin Robinson to just go through a hole, and took some scoring. He had to reach out, but it was a great effort by Dewsbury.
Move here. Wait.
Dewsbury in 6th place, and a win here is going to strengthen their playoff hopes. Put a bit of distance between them and the pack.
Most impressive performance from Dewsbury. I mean, they've started with possession 6 times in Rochdale's half in this game so far and scored on 5 occasions. That underlines just how important it is to where you get the ball in the game. But I think you have to give a compliment to the Dewsbury Rams about what they've done with the ball. Perhaps a penalty there, interference on Danny Morn. They're just trying anything they can to cling on right now at Rochdale.
Eric Andrews was the man penalised. Danny Morn was the man impeded. Andrews hanging on to Danny Morn as he went for that pass.
2 Rochdale centres have got a tough ask tonight. Ian Marsh and Mark Blanchard both normally play back row against some speedy centres from the Dewsbury side.
Jason Southwell driving that ball forward. He's 6 feet 4 inches tall, Jason Southwell. Big physical presence on the field there against a wilting Rochdale side. Meanwhile, it's with Pat Walker. Walker finds Domick. Domick goes outside and then comes back infield, managing to stay in the field of play. Blanchard with the tackle. Pat Walker looking for somebody to find there. Just a little lack of movement maybe from the Dewsbury Rams just at that point, and Walker's options were limited just for a moment. But now Lawford finds Kevin Crowthers. Crowthers, good footwork from him, almost took him through. Hulse managing to stop him. Francis Maloney is on the field. Walker stabs the kick in, and Dewsbury have it back, and it's back to 6. Another set of 6 then for this Dewsbury Rams side. So the pressure really is relentless, and Sid Domick bounces off one, ricocheted, and he's lost that ball. I thought he'd managed to get over. Domick really is fearless. It's no wonder he picks up so many bumps and bruises.
Well, there's still some fight left in the Rochdale Hornets. They've had to make, 8 tackles on the row on their own line here. Domick so close, he's tempted to try and get his arms free, loses possession, and the referee rightly recognises a knock-on. Bang, he just throws himself at the line, spins through a couple. Fagboran just prevents him from getting over the line. And Rochdale survive.
Not sure whether that's the right tackle technique though. If Andy Gorskin is trying to come with a shoulder charge, and someone like Sid Domick there who's got good feet and could spin out, but fortunate for Rochdale, he lost the ball.
30 minutes gone, 30 points up are the Dewsbury Rams. Rochdale. Oh, and the problem for the Hornets player going down on all fours in back play at the moment.
Work, guys! Here! Wait, Joe. Wait, go.
Just short of the halfway line as Holst plays that ball. Here's Wayne Corcoran. Great defence from Pat Walker. There's not a lot of him, Pat Walker. He's quite a slender figure, but he really put his shoulder in there. It's Paul Norman, I think, who's the player in trouble in back play at the moment, as we see that good kick again from Wayne Corcoran.
It's a perfect result for Rochdale, isn't it? Gets them to the other end of the field, and it gets them a break in play as Norman, I think, just limps off the field.
He's steadied him up the last 10 minutes since he's been on, hasn't he? Give him a bit of oomph in the middle of the pitch, because there's the areas where he gets injured.
Wayne, get to back his scrum.
Couldn't see much from that angle then. He's obviously hurt his knee or his ankle.
So Dewsbury have possession, but deep in their own half.
Whoa, move! Wait, come on, get up.
And Phil Hasty with the tackle. Here's Kevin Crowthers. Much travelled Kevin Crowthers, 8 clubs in his career. And in his 3rd spell with the Dewsbury Rams. Bags of experience in Andy Kelly's side. Jason Southwell is a mere rookie by comparison, only 21 years of age, as he plays that ball. Here's Lawford, another one of the seasoned campaigners.
Can Rochdale apply any pressure to Lawford for the kick?
Well, there wasn't much of a chase there to put pressure on him. Andrews underneath that one does well to take it. Buchanan, I think, went for him in the air as well.
Penalty here. Whoa, Ian, it's back here. Calm down.
Well, there's a relief. You can't tackle the man whilst he's in the air. You have to challenge for the ball. Buchanan sort of pulls out from the ball and goes for the man.
Next line, guys.
And it helps Rochdale to get up closer to the halfway line.
Go, no pen.
Todd O'Brien takes that tap penalty, the young hooker who's given his full debut tonight by Rochdale Hornets.
10 metres, guys. Franny, talk to him.
And now here's Rob Ball again.
2, Franny, work. Come on here. Go.
Wayne Corcoran. Corcoran decides to go himself. Good defence from Pat Walker.
Ryan, get out of there.
Bad pass from Holst, and Holst holds his hand up in acknowledgement, but fortunately reaches a teammate.
Come on, Jason. Dean, Austin. Go.
Hasty.
Play on.
Here's Ian Marsh. Marsh is tackled by Francis Maloney.
Here, Joe. Well done, mate. Go.
On the last, Hasty. And they're going to run out of options. Well, not really going anywhere there. If that was the power play, it lacked a lot of power.
I don't think Andy Gorski was really thinking he was going to get that ball. He was hoping it was going to go behind him.
Stand rock.
So Dewsbury have possession again with Danny Morn.
You can't stand in ruck when you're in possession, all right?
Now Sid Domick.
Clear, 2.
Domick could have, as we mentioned earlier on, reversed his decision and gone back to Hull, but fair dues decided that he was going to keep his word and stick with his Dewsbury side.
I think integrity is a great quality, and it will obviously help him for the rest of his life, and not just the 6 months. Too many people think short term in life. Domick's made a commitment to somebody there, and he stuck by it, and that's very admirable in modern day life.
Lawford now just showing another string to his bow with a 40-20 attempt. Oh, that's good work from Eric Andrews to keep that ball in play, and Andrews has done really well there because he's kept it in play and he's got himself out of trouble.
Outstanding rugby league, wasn't it? Eric Andrews is known for his pace, chasing kicks downfield. He had to use some of that speed to get back and win possession for his side here. They didn't fancy defending in the last few minutes of this half, close to their own try line as Holtz skates across the side of the pitch.
That was tight on the dead ball line, wasn't it? That could well have been a goal line dropout.
But again, look at that 5th tackle there, and they've got to kick from 25 yards out. The difference when Rochdale are coming off their own line, they're getting over the halfway.
That's a good kick from Wayne Corcoran. He's got a lot of distance to that. In fact, so much that it's probably going to run dead.
20. Get him on side. Wait.
Maloney takes the tap, and the referee wants him to take it from the correct spot in the middle of the field.
I think the last 5 minutes have probably been Rochdale's best, haven't they? They've played end to end. They've kept hold of possession a little better. They've moved the ball around when they've had a chance, and they've kicked the ball particularly well, which they weren't doing in the first 20 minutes.
When you're in a bit of a lull like this, you want one of your teammates, when you're getting beat, to come up with a big play and come up with a big shot to inspire your teammates. The minute the leg drive there, the Dewsbury forwards just seem to be pushing the defenders back of Rochdale. Great
Kevin
run
Crowthers, yeah, he hit that one at pace. And he flattened Andy Bailey in the process, and Bailey very gingerly getting to his feet. That's good defence from Craig Robinson for Rochdale. Really hit Joe Helm there.
Go.
Lawford and Maloney, that's Lawford's kick. Hulse underneath it. Well, that was very cool indeed from Gary Hulse.
I think you just need to explain, don't you, that the referee signalled to Walker that he was in front of the kicker, thereby offside. He had to stay out, couldn't challenge for the ball, otherwise he'd penalised him.
And Gary Hulse scampering out of trouble. So at least Rochdale have managed to stem the flow after Dewsbury Rams really took it to them early doors. 30 points to 0. And all those points coming in the first half hour. The first 28 minutes, in fact. Here's Austin Buchanan. Hasty has led the chase. And Gorski, the captain, with the tackle on the Dewsbury 20-metre line. Chris Hall, but he gets away from the Gorski. Runs into the tackle of Craig Robinson. Bretherton is tackled.
Another thing that's helping Rochdale out is they're not compounding their errors by coming up with a mistake and then giving a penalty away in the next set of 6. And because they've cut the penalties out, they seem to be more and more getting involved in this game.
Crowther's tackle just inside the Rochdale half. That's the 5th tackle. Francis Maloney, Dean Lawford. Hulse read that one well, scampers across the field, now looks for a gap in that Dewsbury line to run it back, then hits Fagboran, who really came steaming onto that ball at pace, but Pat Walker was there to make the tackle. He's had a good first half as the Dewsbury standoff. Pat Walker on the halfway line. Wayne Corcoran back in field to Craig Robinson. This is easily the best spell of the game from this Rochdale side. It's just come a bit too late. They've won a penalty.
Have they got the energy and enthusiasm, to try and find a try, the first try before half-time? It's a ball steal on Craig Robinson, a rare touch for him. He's done a lot of work in defence, gets to run with the ball. His team are awarded a penalty, and they're now just 15 metres with 6 tackles and 90 seconds to half-time to register their first points.
Oh, this is the pressure, the build-up and the pressure that they've got by Gary Holt running across the line and picking Fagboran up, and players offering themselves to the next hole, putting the defence in a bit of misunderstanding, should we say.
Well, this is a good opportunity for Dewsbury, but they've bombed it. Gorski went without it, picked up by Chris Hall, and there could be a sting in the tail here. Hall has got Gary Hulse clinging onto him, and in fact he's picked up a knock there as Chris Hall, as Kevin Crowthers tries to burst through into the final minute of this first half, with the Dewsbury Rams ahead by 30 points to 0. Chris Hall still flat out in back play as Jason Southwell comes forward. He's lost that ball, picked up by Rochdale. Looks like a hamstring problem for Hall. Rob Ball now. Ball runs it up the middle, and the referee will call a halt because Chris Hall is down right in the path of the action at the moment. Try scorer in this first half.
Touching distance.
And looks as though he's going to be back on his feet and able to continue.
Touching distance, Francis.
Just a few seconds to go in this first half. He'll surely just see out the remaining 30 seconds and then see how things shape up at half-time, Chris Hall. He's back on his feet. Rochdale, can they get, well, not back on their feet, but off their knees anyway. 30 points to 0, they trail. And they're in possession with Craig Robinson.
3, stand, pat, wait, go.
Hulse, hands aloft, screaming for that ball. Hasty now. Hasty finds Ian Marsh. Marsh has gone without it. Another mistake from the Rochdale side. As the hooter sounds, that will end what has been a very satisfying first half for Andy Kelly. Ryan Sheridan alongside him there in the Dewsbury camp, and they'll be mighty pleased. Sid Domick among the try scorers on his debut, as Dewsbury Rams have taken a very firm grip on this game at half-time, leading as they do by 30 points to 0.
Well, Andy Kelly's Dewsbury Rams have been a little camera shy while we have been featuring them here on Sky this year in the National League, but they have Sid Domick in the ranks these days, and what a difference he has made. The Rams ahead at half-time by 30 points to 0. Here right now, though, half-time in the match between the Rochdale Hornets and the Dewsbury Rams, two grand old names from the sport of rugby league, and Dewsbury, we're seeing them winning for the first time on Sky Sports. They lead by 30 points to 0. A reminder that coming up after the second half here, I'll be joined in the Boots and All studio by two respected rugby league writers, Dave Hadfield and Andy Wilson. We'll be looking back to last weekend in the Super League when Hull KR did their survival hopes a power of good with victory over France. A victory in France, and Barry and Terry will be out and about again, annoying another Super League star. And of course we need your emails. Please keep those coming in, and fewer than 50 words, it would be ideal for us. But right now let's reflect the first half action here at Spotland, and for that we join Bill and Phil, who are at the pitch side.
Well, the Dewsbury Rams came here with a bit of a score to settle, because back in May, Rochdale got one of their 3 wins this season when they went to Dewsbury and won 36-24. So they were looking for revenge with the Dewsbury Rams when they came out tonight, and they really haven't pulled any punches, have they, Phil? They have been brutal.
You can tell from the very first whistle when a team's ready to play, and you could sense in Dewsbury's body language that they were here and they meant business tonight. Early on in the game, they had all the leg drive and they had the success as well, didn't they? With great field position, they managed to get close to opponent's line, and they had several different players looking dangerous. Dominic Maloney went over for the first try, and then shortly after that, they had a backline shot, moving the ball wide to the left-hand side. The fullback, Chris Hall, timing his run into the line, taking possession and going over. Then a little bit unlucky for Rochdale, they conceded a simple one on the last tackle. Alex Bretherton went over with that simple play, got their arm free, and then a try, well, a classic one. You've seen Sid Domick do this so many times throughout his career, timing the run, and the angle of the run was the killer. Back against the flow of the defence, the 4th try in just 20 minutes for Dewsbury. The last one for the Dewsbury side, well, it was a short pass from Walker onto Robinson on about the half an hour, and following that, well, you tended to feel that the Rochdale side had finally woken up, got themselves ready and got back into the contest for the last 10 minutes.
Well, Sean Gartland, we said before the game, had really inherited a poison chalice here after all the turmoil that there has been at Rochdale. What is the best he can hope to get out of tonight now with his side 30-0 down at half-time?
I think he can expect an improvement in defence, as we saw in the last 10 minutes of that first half. And again, if his team get to the other end of the field, I think they've got 1 or 2 dangerous players who can cause some trouble. I would hope at the very least they'll score a try, and on the back of a try and a much improved defence, well, there's still hope less for them this season.
The Dewsbury Rams, the hope is that they're going to make the playoffs this season, of course, promoted as champions from Division 2 last season. They haven't really been consistent, but they have certainly been consistent in that first half. They're comfortably in control of this one and look on course for the 3 points that will consolidate their position in the top 6.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. A great first half for Dewsbury Rams then. Can they keep it going, or can Rochdale mount a fight back? Remember, a defeat by 12 points or less in this division means a bonus point. That'll be the target, but it's a mountain to climb. Well, it's Spotland in the National League 1, and Rochdale Hornets 0, Dewsbury Rams 30, the half-time score. Second half's on the way. Let's get back to your commentary team led by Bill Arthur.
Well, it's not all doom and gloom for the Rochdale Hornets. That scoreline's pretty gloomy, but a lot of positives going on off the pitch. And Paul Skelthorpe there among a group of young people who took part in a recent festival of rugby which was held at nearby Hotwood Hall. The Royal Navy lending their support. Danny Skelthorpe, a former Rochdale player, in there as well. And Darren Rogers, once a Dewsbury player. There's Darren, just on the right of your picture in the blue top, was the organising mind behind that very successful event. Over 30 schools taking part in that, and so that's something for Rochdale Hornets to be proud about. Not so sure that the first half here will give them a lot of pride, but they really were up against it from the word go, really. Simon Baldwin, a late withdrawal from this side, a number of players having left the club in recent weeks, which has certainly disrupted things here and meant an unenviable task for Sean Gartland, who's taken over the job here, having assumed control with Darren Abram moving on. And Rochdale maybe just trying to salvage a bit of pride in this second half. They'll still be One from bottom in National League One, looking over their shoulders, but some distance ahead of Doncaster, who of course had points deducted. But it's not a comfortable position for this Rochdale side to be in. But the benefit they do have, an extraordinary number of home games to come. I think 5 of their last 7 games will be at home, having had only 2 at home since April, something like that. They now find that they've got a run-in that a lot of other sides would envy. Lee and Sheffield to come here in the next few weeks. Winnable games, you'd think, for this Rochdale side, but they've got a bit of work to do if they can assume that.
They have got a bit of work. It'd be a tough ask there, Sean Gartland, given his first 40 minutes. Given his first half-time speech there, to see what he can inspire this Rochdale outfit, see what they can do as Dewsbury start off like they left off in the first half, full of confidence. Andy Kelly telling them just to go out there and play and keep doing the same as what they've done in the first 25 minutes.
Here's Pat Walker, had an outstanding first half for this Dewsbury side. And he's got plenty of playmakers out there now, has Andy Kelly, with Walker out there, Lawford, Francis Maloney. There is Andy Kelly. Here is Francis Maloney. Here is Dean Lawford, and Lawford had Kevin Crowthers. Chris Hawley was coming on the run. Crowthers, there he is, just weighing up the options. Shapes to go left, goes right, then fancies a little kick and chase himself. Not giving that one up, but nothing comes of it.
Touch unlucky there, Crowthers. The very short in-goal areas here at the Spotland Stadium, only about 5 metres. It's hard to keep the ball in the in-goal area. But Rochdale will be relieved there now with a tap on the 20-metre line. They're up and running in the second half and slowly going forward.
Well, this is the first game in the National League calendar this weekend. And some big games there are as well, not least Widnes against Whitehaven, rematch from the Northern Rail Cup final, and I'm sure Whitehaven will be out to get a bit of revenge. It's going to take some doing, though.
Dave Rotherham said last week, straight after the game, didn't he, that there's some scores to be settled, and it's going to be interesting watching that game.
It will be interesting to see how they can bounce back from the disappointment of Blackpool, as Chris Hall lets that one go. There's other big games around as well. National League 2 on Saturday afternoon. Featherstone Rovers take on Barrow Raiders. That's the top 2 in National League 2. That's an interesting one. And of course, Featherstone against Celtic to come as well.
Well, there's a positive kick from Phil Hasty. The Rochdale side kicking for touch, 10 metres now from the Dewsbury line. Can they find the intensity and aggression here needed in defence to force a mistake from Dewsbury? That's what they're looking for. Get back on side with the referee and get forward and get in their faces.
Dewsbury in possession. We saw at half-time the Sculthorpe brothers on the sidelines. Let's join Ben Pro now, who is with Paul, I think.
For Rochdale, your allegiance is probably with them, but this has been very impressive from Dewsbury Rams.
Very, very impressive. Great to see Sid Dominic back out there as well. A great Super League player, and now showing his stuff with Dewsbury. Unfortunately, like I said, we've got allegiance with Rochdale after Danny's time here.
And your own injury situation, obviously frustrating, being out on the sidelines, but not too far up before you return now.
No, I mean, everything's going to plan. I've got a rescan in London on Monday. Like I said, I'm stuck in the boot for another 3 weeks, and then I can start the rehab. So, touch wood, everything's going well up to now.
But you'll be supporting on the terraces tomorrow night, I think.
Definitely, a massive game. I think the biggest in rugby league. The Saints Wigan derby, and I think you can throw the phone back out the window as well. It's going to be all about the 80 minutes, and hopefully, our boys will do a job.
Thanks very much, Paul.
Thanks, Ben.
Yes, big game tomorrow night then at Knowsley Road. Saints against Wigan. Can Wigan make it 3 defeats in a row for the champions? That's quite a prospect to contemplate for Saints fans. And then Salford, what a vital game it is for Sean McRae's side against the Bradford Bulls on Saturday evening. So 2 big games to come. Plenty of action around the paddock.
What would Sean Gartland do for having Paul and Danny Sculthorpe in a Rochdale shirt at this minute?
Well, it's Dewsbury in possession. Just inside. Oh, Maloney goes without that one. Well, got a bit of ahead of himself then, Francis Maloney.
Well, probably now because Rochdale are getting back on side their feet, getting up, and when you see somebody in your face moving up quickly, it forces the simple mistakes.
To your scrum, Dean. Hold your line, Pat. Tight.
Quite a rarity here now. Rochdale starting possession inside the Dewsbury half.
Well, Rochdale have seen a bit more ball early on in this second half. It's whether they can do anything with it.
Good charge there by Rob Ball, in and around behind the markers. Can they get the quick play, the ball that Rochdale need?
They're on the charge with Craig Robinson, and Robinson has gone without. He's got the penalty. There was a hand in there, and Jason Southwell looks astonished at that decision from the referee. Well, in actual fact, Craig Robinson had really got himself in a tangle there, and there was no way he was going to hold on to that ball, so he was a bit fortunate to get that penalty. But Rochdale won't look a gift horse in the mouth. Can they turn that into some points? They're keeping it alive. The Rochdale fans desperate for them to at least break their duck. They've been nilled. Too much for comfort lately.
It's more inventive, isn't it,
Three times in the last 6 games Rochdale have been nilled. Can they break their duck here? Blanchard has lost that ball.
They look a little bit, Bill, like a side who've forgotten how to score a try. In that sort of position, Blanchard in 2 minds. Do I pass the ball? Do I go for the line? In effect, really, did neither that well. Went then to offload too late and has lost possession.
Well, when you're nilled 3 times in the last 6 games, it won't do your confidence a lot of good, will it? Here's Danny Morn.
You tend to, as a player, look around the pitch and see who's going to do that big play for you and who's going to score that try for you. He's a good whack that up, Hasty.
Yeah, he's quite a spindly character, Phil Hasty, but he puts his shoulder in.
Well, even if the Rochdale side may lack cohesion in attack, there's no excuse for lack of enthusiasm in defence. Get back on side, get up in your face of your opponents and put that shoulder in and have some leg drive. So here it is now, Gary Holt's getting up there, putting the Dewsbury side under pressure, but good offloads, and they're now into the Rochdale half.
Bretherton, Lawford, Chris Hall obviously recovered from that knock he took towards the end of the first half. 4 tackles gone. Walker, Lawford, Crowthers, he really is in the thick of it. Kevin Crowthers gives that ball away and it bounces kindly for Francis Maloney, couldn't quite gather it, but almost came up for them as that ball ricocheted around.
Good feet off Crowthers there, just forcing the pass offload, but again, may come off there. Francis Maloney could have got the ball to hand there and kept hold of it.
When you are 30-0 up, Bill, sometimes you need a little private challenge, and I wonder whether the coach Andy Kelly from the Dewsbury Rams said, listen, it's just over a year since we last nilled an opposition. Let's see if we can put an 80-minute defensive effort in here that prevents their opponents from scoring. 12 months ago, they prevented London Scholars scoring in 80 minutes, and that's tough at whatever level of rugby league you play and whatever opponent you're playing against, to have the concentration, and it's the concentration that will be tested here now in the next 30 minutes for Dewsbury.
The Dewsbury Rams supporters in good heart here tonight, and well they might be with their side comfortably in control of this one. Hulse felt that tackle from Walker. Domick will chase it, Walker will get there, and I think Pat Walker has come up with it. Well, that persistence paying off for this young Dewsbury standoff.
Tell you what, Clark, you've got a good memory, you.
Do you know I do? Because I follow the London Scholars results. You know, the second professional side down there in the capital. I look to see how they do, and I was disappointed when they couldn't get over the line against Dewsbury. But Dewsbury look like they're going to be the next team to score.
Good work from Josh Whedon. Lawford now. Lawford again for Crowthers. He really is hunting this try tonight, Kevin Crowthers. Looking to get into double figures on the try-scoring chart. Lawford. Over the head of Dominic Maloney, finds Pat Walker. Walker.
No. Come on here. Well done, guys.
Josh Whedon returned to the side after injury. Whedon has had a big influence as Domick puts the kick in. Bryn Powell wasn't quite on the same wavelength, but still it was tricky enough for Bolifagboran to have to concede the goal line dropout.
Great kick, isn't it? And a difficult one to deal with. Bouncing awkwardly for Fagboran. The goal line dropout here. You just think that the Dewsbury side, well, Rochdale have gone 10 minutes now without conceding a try, and in fact, if you consider the 10 minutes at the end of the first half, that's a 20-minute period that they prevented Dewsbury from scoring. Pretty good effort, Bill.
Saw Bolo Fagboran there. He's got great pace, but we haven't really had an opportunity to see any of that from this Rochdale side tonight. They've virtually been on the back foot since the word go, and they're on the back foot again now with Bretherton among the try scorers for Dewsbury tonight. Lawford, this time Crowthers is the dummy runner. Chris Hall stepping back in field. We'll play that ball just about 5 metres away. Danny Morn puts a little kick in, and it's well dealt with by Eric Andrews, but again they're under pressure, conceding the goal line dropout. Austin Buchanan really pinning him down. There's nowhere for him to go there.
Well, it was Domick on the right, now it's Morn on the left. Back-to-back goal line dropouts. Again, you have to compliment Rochdale's defence. Over 20 minutes now since they conceded a try, and they're under pressure here. Great pride back in the Rochdale jersey since half-time.
But this is an impressive Dewsbury performance. They really have had the boot on the throat of Rochdale, and they haven't eased the pressure, have they? And Andy Kelly will be delighted with that.
They've got to be dominant though when they're coming out the line, as Phil Hurst done those, but he got drove back.
Hobson almost got that ball away to Danny Morn. As it is, they're still threatening again. Francis Maloney, Dean Lawford, Lawford to Pat Walker. Walker has runners. One of them is Domick coming back in field. Good defence from Rochdale again. Gary Hulse once more in there. Lawford steps back in field. Buchanan's gone without it. Again, that's good defence from Rochdale.
That's great defence. That's 16 tackles on their own line there that Rochdale have survived. And they start to look impregnable, don't they? What an amazing turnaround in the space of the same game. Hulse is it, who works on the inside. Great tackle on Domick, then got up and worked again on the inside play. And they've really had a good chat and a good look at themselves in the mirror at half-time.
That's more what they want, and that's what more that Sean Garland wants to need. But what they do need to do is come off the line and go forward, because they're never going to dominate a tackle unless they're moving forward and they hit that Dewsbury play with all the force to try and turn him on his back.
Well, they've made some tackles of Rochdale Hornets. They still haven't managed to stop Dewsbury accumulating 30 points, but that was all in the first half hour of this game, as Phil's pointed out.
I think the thing we learnt from the National League game last week in the Northern Rail Cup final and the one here tonight are that starts to the matches are so important. Every team goes out onto the field and warms up, but some do it better than others, and some are able to focus from the beginning of the match. Dewsbury did that here tonight, and the lead has just taken the pressure off them. But good spirit here now in this Rochdale side. Nothing to lose at half-time, playing with some fire.
Austin Buchanan came swinging in there and is penalised for the high tackle, and then wonders why. And so Rochdale getting on a bit of a roll. Can they break their duck here? Todd O'Brien will take the tap. This young hooker they recruited from Halifax was in the under-21 side at the Shea, and Sean Gartland saying this young man's got bags of potential. Well, this has got potential for Rochdale now. Great potential, and Hasty will get him off the mark. Right under the posts. What a great try that was. And full marks to this Rochdale side, and Sean Gartland will really be proud of that, because they haven't thrown the towel in. They've shown great spirit to lift themselves in the second half, and they're going to get 6 points on the scoreboard, because you'd fancy them to kick this one. Well, you would if they had a goal kicker on the field. That's the only problem.
Well, the opposite to the first half. This time it's Dewsbury giving away the penalty on and around the halfway line. Rochdale then being able to get downfield with the head of a penalty. And Phil Hasty, who's probably one of the most dangerous ball runners of any halfback in this league, finally has some support around him. He needs some of his teammates to make a dent in the opposition line. If they do that and they can get the ball back to him, he's a clinical finisher, as he's shown over the last few years, and goes over the line for a good Rochdale try.
And now it's Mark McCulley who'll try and convert this. The problem that Rochdale have got is that Kevin King has been their only successful goal kicker this season. He's out injured. McCulley has been injured. He's back in the side tonight, and he's got 2 points on the board, and it's Rochdale 6, the Dewsbury Rams 30, and the Rochdale supporters and their coach delighted with that. Great spirit from this Rochdale side.
There's great strength as well by Andy Gorski here. You see him here when he gets the ball off Phil Hasty. He goes through. I want you to know that Phil Hasty's inside him, comes up with a great offload for Phil Hasty to dive over there.
Once of Hunslow, then Hull, Kingston Rovers, Phil Hasty, and York City Knights. Now the ringmaster for the Rochdale Hornets, and getting their first try tonight, his 9th of the season, and the Rochdale supporters will be hoping that that's the first of a few more in this second half. It'll certainly lift their spirits. There is Hasty. They're going down the short side with Ian Marsh. And Dewsbury just finding themselves on the back foot for a change. And they get a penalty to Rochdale. Danny Morn penalised. Although Austin Buchanan was involved as well, but
you've got to commend the way Rochdale have started this half, and as Phil rightly said, before they scored that try they had 3 sets of 6 on their own line defending, which takes a lot of energy out of you, and then they come up upfield, they come up with a great kick, then they come up with a penalty, and then they come up with a try. Let's see if they can do it again.
Byron Smith playing that ball. He's got Super League experience. That had a Dewsbury hand in it, I think. And this is another promising Rochdale attack. Eric Johnson making his debut tonight and having an instant impact, and Andy Bailey, and Bailey gets the ball away, and it's knocked on at the last. Well, the Rochdale fans just thinking that they were in for a quick second try there, but Bailey couldn't get the pass away.
Great enterprise in attack, keeping the ball alive. Eric Johnson came on, ducked around, got in between a few defenders. You just wonder whether the Rochdale side were nervous and had a bit of stage fright here. Was now seeing a little belief. It often happens that with the underdog in sport. They're so scared before the game. When the scoreboard's ticked against them and the game's virtually lost, they then start to play to their full potential.
We saw Eric Johnson there making a contribution. He's making his debut tonight, former Oldham St Anne's player who was signed from Keighley. And he looks about 15 actually. It's Dewsbury though back in possession. They haven't seen a lot of the ball early in this so far in this second half. Kevin Crowthers.
Sometimes, Phil, when you get behind like that, and as a player, the pressure's off when you're 30-0 down, and you go out there and you want to throw the ball around, and you want to come up with some big plays, and as I said in the first half, try and inspire your teammates.
I think sometimes players actually believe the bookmakers, don't they? And if they are massive underdogs, go into it with that frame of mind. I think sometimes you have to maybe disrespect your opponents to a certain extent and prove that you are better than them, particularly in your mind before the game even starts.
McCulley did well to take that kick. McCulley back in this Rochdale side after a knee reconstruction has kept him out for some considerable time. They're glad to have him back. And here's Byron Smith.
Again, come on here. Wait.
There is young Eric Johnson.
5. Come on, Dave. Here.
That's the 5th tackle. Hasty steps out of trouble, but isn't going to be able to get away. But McCulley now in possession, and McCulley has got Byron Smith in support. He's got Gary Hulse there as well. Oh, if he could have got it over the top, Gary Hulse was screaming for it. But in the end, the move breaks down.
Get your men on side.
Well, the greatest plus from a Rochdale point is that they're now starting to try things. Last tackle play, under pressure, ran the ball and penetrated through the Dewsbury defence. We didn't see that in the opening quarter to this game. Fortunately, maybe not to be penalised there. Rochdale, was it Rob Ball late in the tackle?
Rob Ball.
They're a very tough side to play at home, Rochdale. Widnes last year travelled up to it, and they come with a big win against Widnes, and they totally dominated us all around the field. And looking at the Rochdale team today, there's only probably about 3 or 4 players missing from that team last year, so they can play rugby.
Josh Whedon gets the ball away to Domick.
Move, you two! Move!
Domick is tackled. Here's Dominic Maloney, caused all sorts of problems for Rochdale early in the game. Lawford now on the last, puts a little chip kick in. Eric Andrews across there well and gets out of trouble, just managing to shrug off the challenge of Lawford, but he's still finding himself back where he started.
Well, that's what I like to see. The referee calling held. You don't want players lifted back into the in-goal area. I know I had a big fallout with Barry McDermott about that the other day. But the referee felt that once a player had been lifted, could make no further progress, then the tackle was complete, and he was told to get back into the field of play and play the ball.
Byron Smith, he's shown well in this second half. That looked high from Alex Bretherton. Here's Andy Bailey, and suddenly these Rochdale forwards are running with a bit of enthusiasm.
Because they've not been doing a lot of defending like they did in the first half. So they have that bit fresher.
Hasty with the kick. Straight into the hands of Bryn Powell. Holson Hasty there on the follow-up. In the end, it's Mark Blanchard with the tackle. Ryan Benjafield assisting. Sid Domick. And they'll get the penalty. They really did push their luck there, Hulse and Blanchard. So they were waiting for the whistle. And the penalty goes Dewsbury's way.
Well, in the first half, Rochdale couldn't cope with a situation like this. Dewsbury having a penalty in the Rochdale half, 6 tackles, and on one of those 6 tackles, Dewsbury would score a try. Now then, they've had a strong 20 minutes in defence. They've got themselves back into the game emotionally more than anything on the scoreboard. Can they hang on here for another 5 tackles?
Andy Hobson played that ball and then got to his feet very slowly. He hasn't actually got to his feet. He's down on his knees. Meanwhile, play continues. Domick down like a slip fielder, and then class that was. One-handed out the back. Finds Bryn Powell, and Powell across the field, just looking for somebody in his shoulder. If there had been, they were in there, but in the end it's a knock-on. But what about that from Sid Domick?
Sid Domick, all the class and but it come with a strong run there, Bryn Powell, to break through the 2 defenders. Looking a great class there to stand down, pick up the ball and flick the ball out. He's still got it all, Sid Domick, hasn't he?
Hobson is having to leave the field. The 28-year-olds, and got right across the face. Used to that, Andy Hobson. Does a bit of boxing, I think.
Why? What are you saying, he's ugly?
No, I'm saying that he's used to being in that situation. Rochdale have come up with the error. And back to their old ways of the first half.
Well, only in the regard that they've lost possession. They haven't been letting any tries in. I don't know what Sean Gartland said at half-time, but it was a pretty effective start to a half-time coaching speeches go. 6-0 up in the second half, 23 minutes gone.
Let's get formed in first, guys.
Before Rochdale's next game, I'm sure Sean Gartland will be showing them what they've done correctly in this second half, and probably won't take much notice of the first half.
Domick in possession for Dewsbury. He's lost his scrum cap, and he'll get the penalty, in fact, because somebody ripped that off. And that was daft, that was.
It was Martin McCulley. I've never seen anybody get injured from ripping the skull cap off. I just don't see the point in it. Silly penalty to give straight in front of your own sticks when you've already been under pressure.
Well, they could pay for it now, because Jason Southwell has trundled that ball straight back towards them. Finn, Lawford across the field to Chris Hall. Good defence from Marsh. And Hall plays the ball just a couple of metres in the field of play. Robinson. Real pressure on this Rochdale line again. Finn gets it away to Lawford. Lawford finds Walker. Walker finds Domick.
No, he didn't touch you.
And Rochdale appealing that there was obstruction there. But Bretherton just managed to stay out of the way. Whedon now looking to mark his return to the side with a try, but Rochdale holding firm. This is good defence from this Rochdale side. On the last, they've lost that ball, and Bryn Powell goes without it.
Well, this is a poor defensive decision here by Rochdale. Gary Holtz has tried to knock the ball down. The referee says it's a knock-on. Now, Will Holtz claimed that he's probably in an offside position where he stood at marker anyway. The ball does go backwards. But either way, Dewsbury deserve possession here.
Walker to Lawford. Francis Maloney hitting that ball at pace. Forward cry the Rochdale supporters. Lawford, well, that goes behind everybody. It's going to be picked up by Bretherton. Bretherton stepping his way towards the try line. Rob Ball with the tackle, and Byron Smith. Here's Pat Walker again. Walker to Dominic Maloney.
Wait! No.
Liam Finn. Walker. Lawford, as they give it some air. They're in again for a second try. Robinson, the try scorer. And relentless pressure from the Dewsbury Rams side. Eventually Rochdale cracked. Some valiant defence there, but they just ran out of numbers, and Martin Robinson doubling his tally for the season tonight, his second of the night, thundering onto that ball.
Well, after having defended the line for 5 tackles, Holtz came up with a poor option, and it gave Dewsbury a repeated set of possession. Then the classic rugby league formula for a try: long pass, short ball to a man running hard and close to support. Very, very difficult to stop, because the defenders by this point are really stretching and grasping at space. They've cut out so many defenders by those first 2 long balls, but if the man running on the ball comes through at a good angle, as Robinson did, well, it's virtually unstoppable so close to the line.
The Dewsbury supporters will travel home, delighted to see their side's 4th win of the season. It's the bonus points, of course, that have really helped Dewsbury this season. They have been competitive, so even when they've been losing, they've been picking up bonus points. 5 of those. 2 more points for Liam Finn. 36-6 the scoreline here at Spotland, and be a very contented Dewsbury coach, Andy Kelly.
Which way, fella?
As well, though, Bill, I think he'll be a bit disappointed. As Phil said, long ball, a long ball, and as the Rochdale lads have to go sideways, it's just a good angle run coming back against the grain that Martin Robinson just managed to get over the line.
Good line. No pens then, guys. No pens.
Lawford fields the restart. Here is Dominic Maloney again, and bang, in he goes.
He runs the ball so strongly.
You like him, don't you?
I really do like him. I think he's just got a lot of aggression the way he runs the ball, and as I say, he's got no respect for his body whatsoever.
Stand, Ryan! Move! Here,
Well, as we said earlier on, Dominic Maloney hasn't gone unnoticed in National League. 1 or 2 Super League clubs have just been paying a bit of attention to the progress he's been making. Here's Josh Whedon.
I think Rochdale, but you talk about what they could take from this game. In the first 28 minutes of the first half, Dewsbury managed to score 5 tries. Well, after 28 minutes of the second half, it's 1 try apiece, and really Rochdale have been equally as competitive and have challenged the Dewsbury team as much as possible. I think the penalty by McCulley when he ripped off Dominic's head guard really was just a display of poor discipline.
And that's when the momentum got away from them.
I'd say it was, yeah, and things have really turned off, haven't they, from then? Can they get back into it now? Get back to doing the things that they did well in the first 20 minutes of this second half. Shifting the ball, misdirected pass. If Eric Andrews can get some decent ball, he can really shift.
They have got some pace, haven't they? In fact, Boren and Andrews on the wings, a couple of the quickest around, but there's nothing reaching them, especially if Gorski gives them passes like that. Here's Eric Johnson. Johnson has got away. That's good work from the little replacement, but there's no support. Eventually Gary Holtz has arrived, but it was too late. Oh, and Hastie's gone without it. That one dipping at his toes, and not a good pass from Todd O'Brien.
On cross, Austin. On the cross.
You talk about other things to build on. A quick dummy half who can get out there, get between defenders and break the line. Well, any side would love to have one of those. Johnson couldn't find a teammate in support, and they lost it then on the next play, but that's an asset. That's a real asset for any team to have.
It's a skill as well, isn't it, Phil? Like Eric Johnson, the the way it goes. Man, James Roby always sees when there's big lads at the play the ball, he'll get the ball, he'll try and get them going sideways from the ruck, and he'll take them on up the middle.
Go.
With Dominic Maloney just inside the Rochdale half.
Go.
Here's Jason Southwell.
4, stand up.
Big, strong prop forward.
Wait.
Takes a bit of time getting to his feet. Here's Lawford. Back in field to Austin Buchanan.
Too close.
And that ball went forward. Well, we saw Andy Hobson. We saw Andy Hobson going off with an injury problem, and let's go down and find out what the story is with that from Ben Pro.
Bill, the story with Andy Hobson is it's an eye problem. He's just got poked in the eye, but actually he asked me to say, well, his mother is watching tonight, so not to worry, it's only a very minor injury. A couple of problems for Rochdale as well. Paul Norman, the right knee, it was an injury a couple of weeks ago, that's flared up again, and Wayne Corcoran has popped a shoulder, so Rochdale continue to do it tough.
Between them, guys.
That is bad news, and Andy Bailey obviously with a problem. So not the best first night for Sean Gartland.
No, but his team could still win the second half of this match. I know you don't get any points for that in rugby league, but morally you can build on it. At least there's some positivity then at your next training session going into your next game. 6-6 here, less than 10 minutes to go in the second half, and they're at the right end of the field.
Ryan Benjafield plays the ball. Byron Smith. Andy Gorski. Gorski has lost that ball, has been snaffled by Dewsbury. The referee says play on. Martin Robinson first to react. Southwell. Oh dear, that's not a pretty sight. Andy Hobson with that eye problem.
Wait, go.
Hobson doesn't look as though he'll be back, but Andy Kelly in the position where he's not really going to have to risk players. Oh, Fagboren, well, he looked to keep that one in. Oh, the comedy of errors there. Touch judge goes falling. Fagboren keeps the ball in play. Gary Hulse, neat touch. We had everything there. We had absolutely everything. And it's in the end, Rochdale managed to make 20 metres. Somehow.
What a great kick from Dean Lawford.
All you needed was the theme from, was it Benny Hill?
The Keystone Cops.
Keystone Cops. But it's Rochdale.
Do you know what he did? So well to recover. When you make a mistake, sometimes the embarrassment causes you to, paralyses you, doesn't it? He got back up and
probably great awareness to where the ball still was, because he thought he'd kicked it out the stand.
And Rochdale will get a penalty here. And the referee, I think, wants a word with Dewsbury captain Dean Lawford about something. There's not been anything really to justify a stern talking to. And I think it's probably interference at the play the ball that referee is just wanting Dean Lawford to tidy up. So Rochdale on the charge again with Byron Smith. Oh, a clammy evening now, the sun setting, it's cloudy, a hint of thunder in the air, and a hint maybe of something on here for Rochdale, but they've gone without it. Blanchard appealing that the ball was stolen in that tackle, but truth to tell, he just lost control of it. Bryn Powell takes the tackle from Mark Blanchard.
They do look a lot more urgent with Gary Holt at the 7 position. Around the rucks, he's given them a lot in the first half. He was one of the top tacklers. He caught with 11 tackles, and all the forwards caught with 12. So the Dewsbury defence took a lot out of him. So he has shown up very well. Mark McCulley as well at the back, chiming into the lines. Looked very good for Rochdale in the second half.
And Byron Smith has as well. That was a good tackle from Byron Smith on Dominic Maloney. Robinson. Hasty, I think, is in trouble on the 40-metre line for Rochdale. Looks like cramp, in fact. Good work from Eric Andrews to tidy up there.
Great kick by Dean Lawford, particularly under pressure. Nice to put the ball where he wanted. That's a great skill to have. And you're challenged and you've got to keep the ball in the field. Phil Hasty now down with cramp. They need him back in the play.
There's a Dewsbury player leaving the field pretty gingerly as well. I think it's Pat Walker.
4, move Alex.
So Andy Kelly probably not wanting to risk anybody with the game in the bag here, barring any comeback. There could be one on here. Hulse has got support. Oh, and good tackle from Chris Hall, but Hulse had the opportunity to offload there. And well, Blanchard looked at him and said, I was there if you needed me.
If you go on to the next player, though, you have to give Dewsbury some a compliment, Bill. The line's broken, and yet they make a massive effort here. When Hall pulls up, or Hulse, all of the Dewsbury players work to get back on the next one. On that fifth tackle, did enough to survive, prevent a Rochdale try. Good desire there going into the last 5 minutes.
2, Sam Byron.
It's been a good second half for this Rochdale side. They've salvaged a bit of pride in the second 40.
They've looked to play rugby, haven't they? Instead of trying to play an error-free rugby, error-free game where they just go through the motions, they're looking to play in the second half, and that's probably what's given them a bit of the edge.
One or two of these Dewsbury players may be tiring. Of course, they were involved in the York Nines at the weekend, and came unstuck, I think, against an invitation side that went on to win the tournament. Don't like to mention names, but one member of it is sitting here, and it's not me or Phil.
There you go.
Yeah, I've got the medal round my neck here. International Nines winner. Never thought I'd ever say that, Bill. Played with the Barry McDermott's Ambassadors.
Is that international size nines? It's a shoe competition.
Yeah, I don't know. We beat a lot of good sides, actually. Fijian side that was put in. Played some great football. Scored a great 60-yarder as well, Bill.
I was told he did a sidestep, but in actual fact your knee gave way, didn't it? They could be in here. Bolo Fagboran, and Fagboran trying to get to the line. That's the fifth tackle. Into the last 5 minutes here, and Rochdale hoping they can end on a high. Crossfield kick. It's patted back. It's picked up by Gorski, the captain. Still on the last. Gorski manages to offload. Wayne Corcoran. Corcoran back inside. They're in for the try with Craig Robinson. And that's got the biggest cheer of the night. And persistence paying off for this Rochdale side. And a great try that was. Applause from Craig Robinson, and the Rochdale fans salute their sides. They've shown plenty of spirit in this second half.
Well, when Rochdale were getting a good hiding in the first half, Craig Robinson came onto the field and really got stuck in defence, threw his body into tackles, and I'm delighted that he's been rewarded here with a try. They keep the ball alive on the last tackle. He follows the ball, and you can just see how much it means here to him.
Former St Helens Academy player Mark McCulley then with this conversion attempt. Successful, and Rochdale 12, Dewsbury 36. Doesn't look half as bad as it did after 28 minutes when Dewsbury Rams were 30 points to 0 up and running away with this. Well, Rochdale has shown something here.
Andy Gorse again setting up the second try there by having the upper body strength, passing the ball to Corcoran there. And they've just showed that they've got that bit of confidence back this second half, and they've just showed the new coach some glimpses of what he can expect in future games.
Well, they've got this run in. They've got 5 of the last 7 games at home. There's every indication on this sort of form that they can get their way out of trouble. They can breathe down the necks of the sides above them. Sheffield and Batley Bulldogs will be concerned about the threat that they could face yet from this Rochdale side.
It's probably been a very tough week for the players, with losing a lot of the key players and some of the players pulling out injured, like Simon Svavic and Simon Baldwin. And there's some leaders that have stepped up today. Andy Gorski's took a real captain's knock the way he stepped up and led his team round. And I said Gary Hultz in the second half got more involved and taking on the big fellas up the middle of the field.
And on, Liam Finn.
A penalty goes Rochdale's way. The ball steal there into the last minute here. Well, Dewsbury will be very satisfied. They were out to avenge their earlier defeat this season by this Rochdale side. And on their first visit here since 2003, when they lost 52-14, they're going to go back with the spoils. 2003 was a bad season for Dewsbury, but Andy Kelly will be pleased with the way things have gone in 2007 for his side. They lost that one 52-14, in 2003, and what made things worse that they lost the return 62-6. This time Dewsbury have won 36-12, and delight for Dean Lawford and his Dewsbury side. A real baptism of fire for Sean Gartland, the new man in charge at the Rochdale Hornets. It looked as though it was going to be a real pasting early on for Rochdale, but they've shown commendable character to really dig in and make a great fight of it in this second half. Technically speaking, they've won the second half, 12 points to 6, so that'll give them plenty to build on in the weeks ahead as they battle to get themselves away from the threat of relegation and up the table. But it's the Dewsbury Rams who consolidate their position in the top 6 with the 3 points gained here tonight, and the Dewsbury supporters will head back home, and they've got the cuts and bruises to show it as well. Andy Hobson is bleeding from the eye, but it'll be well worth it when they look at this table, staying in 6th place but secure in these playoff positions. And let's go down to the sideline now and hear from the Dewsbury Rams coach.
Andy, comprehensive win for Dewsbury in the end. You must have been particularly pleased with that first half performance.
Yeah, the first half was everything that we set out to achieve, really. We wanted to be physical and get in amongst their forwards, tie them up a bit and then work their edges, and I thought we showed some of the finesse that we need to show in the last 6 games now, and hopefully push our season into not just safety but maybe a big top 6 effort.
Tough games to come, only 6 games to go. Halifax, Widnes and Castleford, I think, still to be faced, but this win maybe builds some momentum going into the last 6 games of the season.
Yeah, I think we've had a fair bit of momentum all year, and you know what we've done is we've gathered some best loser points along the way. This is our 4th win of the season. I think it's probably the most important for us, with so many games, so many big games to come and so many important games to come. We set out not to firefight relegation. We want it to be a top 5, top 6 side, and we're now on the road to doing that.
And continuing this form, every chance in the playoffs at the end of the season.
If we work hard enough, we've just got to keep on track, keep focused and build on tonight.
Thanks very much, Andy. Sid Domick alongside. Sid, the Super League viewers know you, a very familiar face in that competition. What was your National League first National League experience like?
Mate, I enjoyed it. I was expecting the Rochdale to fade a bit in the second half. They did a lot of work in the first half, but they showed a lot of character and where they worked right till the end.
That's right. I mean, Rochdale at half-time, maybe nothing to play for, but they came out and gave a good account of themselves in that second half.
No, they did, mate. I expected them to cave. They did so much work, and but it just never happened. So I thought I'd better come off and have a rest.
And you got on the score sheet as well on debut try?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Find a bit of space. It's just good to be back, mate. It's been 5 weeks since I've played and joined in the training on Monday, and I enjoyed playing tonight.
Sid, best of luck for the rest of the season. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks a lot.
Good to see Sid Domick back in action. He has done so well for Hull FC. Now he's doing the business for the Dewsbury Rams, and Dewsbury have won here tonight by 36 points to 12. But as you can see, they were 30-0 up at half-time. The game was well and truly won by then. And credit Rochdale Hornets for digging in the second half and making a game of it. It leaves the table looking like this. Widnes and Castleford and Whitehaven leading the charge towards the Super League next year. Lee Centurions just 1 win behind them. There are 3 points for a victory in this division. Halifax and Dewsbury have consolidated their place in the top 6. Rochdale, they're still threatened by relegation. Well done then to Dewsbury. From now till the end of the show, it's boots and all, and with me here in the studio are Rugby League writers Andy Wilson and Dave Hadfield. If you have a Rugby League viewpoint, then please send us your thoughts via the email. Here's our address, and try and keep your messages to fewer than 50 words if you possibly can. I'll read as many as I can between now and the end of the programme. There are highlights of last weekend's Engage Super League action to come as well, and Barry and Terry have been out and about again, catching up with a Super League star. Find out what they got up to when we return. From here on in, it is Boots and All. We look back on last weekend's Super League action. Saints losing 2 in a row, Hull KR getting a vital win. Barry and Terry have been out and about again, nabbing another Super League star to interrogate. And there's still plenty of time to hear from you. Keep sending us those emails. So it's Boots and All. We've already seen the Rochdale Hornets Dewsbury game live. In case you've just tuned in, you missed it. A reminder that it ended Dewsbury winning by 36 points to 12. From now till the end of the programme, I'm joined here in the studio at Spotland by two highly respected rugby league journalists. Dave Hadfield and Andy Wilson are here with me, and they are ready and willing to discuss anything in the rugby league world that you might have a concern about. All they need is to know what those concerns are, so send us an email. Fewer than 50 words would be ideal. We'll get as many of them read out on the programme as we possibly can. And while you're logging on, we'll get up to date with the progress in the Engage Super League last weekend. It was the 20th round of the regular season.
Round 20 of Super League 12 was played in some of the worst conditions of the summer era, but that didn't worry Wigan, who backed up their win over Bradford by defeating Leeds. The Rhinos would have gone to the Super League summit with a victory, but were kept trialless by the Warriors, and touchdowns from Liam Colburn and Brian Fletcher did the job for Brian Noble's boys. The following night, Bradford fans were singing in the rain as they shrugged off the 2 points penalty for breaking the salary cap to defeat champion St Helens. The Bulls always had the edge. Marcus St-Hilaire's try helped them eke out a 10-0 advantage. Willie Tallow gave the visitors a lifeline in the second half, but Saints couldn't recover from having John Wilkins sent off for a high shot for the second time in 4 seasons at the Grattan Stadium. They stay top, though, on points difference. A couple of weeks ago, Hull were looking anxiously over their shoulders at the foot of the table, but after 2 straight wins, they're now just a point off the playoff places. The Harlequins, who were looking for a 4th win in 5 visits to the KC Stadium, led 8-0 early, Tyrone Smith with their try. But Hull hit back, and the decisive blow came just before the hour mark, a brilliant try by Richard Horne. Craig Hall added another late on, but despite the defeat, Quins stay 5th in a very congested area of the table. It was a good weekend for the whole sides as Rovers gave themselves some breathing space at the bottom of the table after a dogged display in France. KR scored 4 tries in the first half to lead 22-6, and that was enough, but only just, as the Dragons launched a furious fight back. Yunus Katabi scored twice as the Catalans closed to within 2 points with 15 minutes to go, but Justin Morgan's men clung on for a priceless win. Salford are now deep in the mire after a 9-try thrashing at Warrington. The Wolves are up to within a point of the playoff places after this comprehensive win. Kevin Penny was the star of the show, with a blistering hat-trick of tries scored in a 9-minute spell late on. Time looks to be running out for the City Reds. Huddersfield made it a hat-trick of wins over Wakefield in Super League 12 and a thriller in the rain at Bellevue. The Wildcats looked to be home, if not dry, as they led 13-0 at half-time after 2 touchdowns from Peter Fox. Last season, the Giants came from 20 points behind to pip the Wildcats at the Gal Farm, and this was equally remarkable, as they hit back with 4 tries in a quarter of an hour to turn the game on its head. It ends the 6-match winless streak for the Giants. Wakefield stays 6th despite this defeat.
Yeah, let's confirm all that. This is the table as it looks now. Saints and Leeds are joint leaders. Saints on top thanks to points difference, despite losing 2 in a row. Bradford are next, 2 points behind, despite the fact that they have had 2 points deducted for their salary cap breach. Wigan, who are up before the salary cap committee themselves next week, are 4th, while Harlequins and Wakefield make up the 6th. Hull, Warrington, Huddersfield, Catalan, Hull KR and Salford are at the bottom in that order. The fixtures for the forthcoming weekend now: 2 on Friday, kicking off at 8, Leeds, Wakefield and St Helens, Wigan. There are 3 on Saturday, Harlequins against Huddersfield, Salford's crucial game against the Bulls, and Catalan Dragons against Hull in the south of France. So Hull, Kingston Rovers and Warrington have it all to themselves on Sunday, and they will kick off at Craven Park at 3 o'clock. Well, Andy and Dave are here with me in the studio, and Andy, it's looking pretty grim for Salford at the bottom of the table, isn't it, just now, sadly?
It is, having seen them on Sunday at Warrington, Eddie. Yeah, they were poor, really. And I think if you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I'd have said Hull KR were favourites to go down. And 2 things have happened since then. Salford have lost at home to Wakefield, that second game that Sean McCroe's in charge of. I thought they had to win that game. And then Hull KR have won in Catalans. What a win for them on Saturday. Didn't see that coming from anywhere, because Catalans have been so good at home. And for them to get those 2 points and then Salford lose, it's looking a bit grim for Sean McCroe.
Indeed, the 2 meet in a couple of weeks' time, Salford and Hull Kingston Rovers. But Salford have moved over the course of this week to try and increase their strength for the run-in. They've made 3 signings. They've brought in the likes of Richie Barnett from Warrington, the winger, who is well known to Sean McCrae, of course. They've also been back at Warrington for Mike Wainwright, who goes back to Salford for a second spell. And Tommy Saxton has joined them as well, and he had a fantastic back end of the year last year at Wakefield. Dave Hadfield, would those 3 signings be enough, do you think, to keep the City Reds up?
Not necessarily, but I think they will freshen the squad up a bit, and I think that's what it needed. They're short of a few players through injury at the moment. It gives them more options, and I think he was keen to have that, because the last two performances really haven't been up to scratch.
Let's not be accused again of concentrating purely and simply on the relegation issue. Up at the top of the table, St Helens wobbling a bit.
Yes, they are. I mean, you've got a situation now where they could possibly lose 4 on the trot. They could lose to Wigan, because that local derby is always unpredictable, and Wigan are in pretty decent form. And then they've got a tough game the following weekend as well. So I'm not quite sure that St Helens have got the get-out-of-jail card that they traditionally have had over the past few seasons. I think when they get into trouble, they sometimes don't get out of it in the way that you instinctively expect them to do.
And Wigan, Andy, will pose a massive threat tomorrow, because they're playing very well, aren't they?
Should be a fascinating game, shouldn't it? Yeah, I think there was a danger a couple of weeks ago that it could have been overshadowed with the Cup semis coming up next week. But there's no danger of that now, as the Wigan really fancy it. I think they've lost 6 on the bounce to Saints, haven't they, which is a bad run, but Saints have lost 2 on the bounce going into it. Really hard game to call, actually.
Yeah, I don't think Wigan have actually had a losing streak like this against St Helens since the early 50s.
Is it as early as that?
So it's, do or die for Wigan tomorrow, I suppose.
But you get the impression they fancy it, don't you? You know, Brian Noble's been really talking it up. It's strange, because they were in a good run of form going into Good Friday at the JJB. And then they were really put in their place, weren't they, by Saints that day? That showed that they were still a long way behind. So this is another progress report, I guess, for them to see how well they're going.
Well, we'll see what they can do, haven't we? If Trent Barrett gets a bit of space and everyone's prepared to work really hard around him, they can beat anybody. When he doesn't get that space and they don't go in with the right attitude, then they can lose to just about anybody. So it's hard to know which Wigan's going to turn up, but if I had to put money on it, I'd say it would be the one where Barrett gets the space and they work with him and make it pretty tough for Saints.
We shall see. You mentioned Wigan, we mentioned St Helens, we mentioned Bradford, and you have to mention the salary cap. And we've already had an email in tonight. In fact, we've had several of them. This is one from Phil Naggs of Chertsey in Surrey, who says, 1, is allowance made for successful teams like Saints who play more games, i.e. last season's grand final and the Challenge Cup? I'm not so sure that it is it?
No,
it's a very complicated way that this salary cap's organised.
It does. It's headache time when you try and get your head around it. And the people who run it say that next year it'll be terrific, but at the moment we've got to bear with it, haven't we, really? The flaws that are being exposed so horribly at the moment in it, really. I think that's a valid point, the one about bonuses. I don't think they are taken into account. So that does make life tougher at the top. But that's one of the aims of it, I suppose, isn't it? It is to create a more level competition.
Absolutely. Second point, you might be able to help with this one, Dave. With monthly monitoring next season, will any transgressors start the season on minus points from this season?
I'm not sure I quite follow that. I think,
Judge Hadfield.
As I understand it, you could lose points twice next season. You could lose points for this season, and you could also lose points for next season, because that will be a continuous totting up process. But the way they explain it is that it shouldn't really be possible for you to go over your salary cap, because you'll be vetted all the way as it goes along. They'll say, we want to sign player X, to say, well, no, you're, according to your own figures, the figures that we've accepted, you're already on your salary cap, so it shouldn't really happen. But as we know from Australia, I mean, sometimes it does, and if you find that some clubs trying to pull the wool over the rugby league's eyes, they could lose points for that at the same time as they're losing points in arrears for this season, so it could be really expensive times.
People will say, of course, next year, why would it matter? Because from 2009 onwards, we're in the franchise system, so there should be, in theory, no relegation next year anyway.
Yes, you wonder whether that's entered into the calculations of 1 or 2 clubs, don't you? But it could cost you a place in the playoffs, of course.
How do you feel? I spoke to a leading coach today, and he made the allegation to me that all the clubs are overspending the salary cap. It just depends how they juggle the figures. And he actually thinks there should be an increase in the salary cap. It should be up by £200,000.
There's a really interesting article in the Aussie Press today, Eddie. The Aussie clubs are very worried about losing good players to England, aren't they? The Monaghan's and the Matt Kings of this world. And they've had a bit of a crisis meeting to say, how can we stop this? And they've said, well, they've actually said we can't stop it, basically. But in their attempts to see how they can stop it, they're trying to warn players that the way they get money from English clubs doesn't always work. And some of the things that have come out are amazing. Grant Mayer, who used to be the chief exec at Catalans, he's now chief exec at Manly, has quoted a hypothetical case where an Aussie player will be offered $100,000, but only 35,000 of that will go on the salary cap, and he'll only pay tax on 35,000 of that. 65 will go into an offshore account for image rights in Southeast Asia, and apparently they call it flying over Singapore money. You know, so that's the way it's regarded over there, and I think that's probably linking back to what your coach says.
Yes.
That all the clubs in this country, we're not naming any clubs here, everyone does it, it's legal, I think. And I think the RFL in the last couple of years are really trying to look at it. I think the tax authority is looking at it as well now, you know.
Well, isn't it a case of when you bring money in from offshore to any country, be it Australia or the UK, it's only when it comes in, it's liable to the tax?
Eddie, you know, that's we're talking your earnings.
Dave,
there.
you should know this. You're in the super tax bracket. You're the David Beckham.
I think the government has set out its stall to do something about it and make it a lot less easy for clubs, or indeed any sort of organisation, to do it over here. And we do hear an awful lot. People saying certain clubs in particular are doing this as a regular thing. But for all its faults, the salary cap is working. It is making a more level playing field, a more even and unpredictable competition. So I would defend the salary cap despite all its flaws.
I guess the other thing is that if we're there saying that all the clubs are breaking it to a certain extent and getting away with it, the ones who are then found guilty of actually breaching it on the figures must be breaching it by quite a lot, you know, and that's perhaps why there's so much anger that certain clubs are being found guilty.
Indeed. One final point from Phil Naggs of Chertsey in Surrey. He says, dare you read this out? Why were Wigan so relieved that last season's point deductions will apply this year? Do they know what's coming? Of course, everyone pokes the stick at Wigan, don't they? Everyone, because they are now in abeyance, as it were. It's all coming up next week on the 25th of July. Everyone's saying, well, Wigan, 6 points. If it would have been 12 if they hadn't argued successfully. Do you think it will be as severe as that?
I don't think it'll be 6, no. And who knows? I mean, Wigan are on a run legally, aren't they? They've won the first round, so who's to say they're not going to? You can't disagree with that texter or emailer who's saying, why would they have gone to so much trouble in that preliminary hearing? Because they were serious lawyers and we're going to put a lot of money into that hearing to get to the 2006 points deductions. So if they've done that, it seems a reasonable assumption that they think there's a danger that there's going to be a deduction. Now,
can you honestly believe, Dave, that all the clubs this time last year met? We raised this subject last week on the programme. They all met, they all put their hands up, that we will be looking at this year's overspending and the penalties would be doubled. And then when it gets to the crunch, we go back to 2006.
No, I think it's a scam. I think they all knew at the time what they were voting for. They were voting for the next set of punishments to be on the scale of 2 points up to 12. We all reported it that way, and nobody turned around and said, "No, actually, fellas, you've got it wrong. It doesn't come in until the following year." So I think we all knew that, and I think it reflects very poorly on the rugby league that they drew up the clause so badly that they've been able to drive a coach and horses through it. And Wigan have already won the battle that counts. They're probably not going to lose the full 6 points, but it's not going to be enough to deprive them even of a place in the playoffs. So they've come out of it laughing, I think.
OK, if you have a thought on that, you can always drop us an email, of course. Here comes the address again. We're always delighted to hear from you. And I'm sure we'll get to a few more of those views between now and the end of the programme. Well, our dynamic duo of Barry and Terry have been out and about again recently, and it appears no Super League player is safe. This time, the pair give a helping hand to a man in need of a bit of confidence.
I'll tell you what, lad, can you believe the response we've had since that Stanley G makeover?
Players are after some help. We had a good one there with Eddie.
We did. I'm not sure about this Mike fella from Dewsbury though, but anyway.
Here's one. We got one. Gazok, Les from Gazok. Can you make me a bit more attractive?
Not magicians, lad.
I don't think so.
One here from Rob Burrow. Can you help me and give me a nose reduction?
He is a classic case for rhinoplasty. Here's one here from Yistin Harris. Can you make the most of my facial features?
Not with a face like a bag of spanners.
I don't think so.
One here from Robbie Paul. I've got no self-confidence. Can you bring me out of my shell?
You can't buy charisma, Robbie. I am very sorry.
Was that one from Gina from Warrington about Lee Breers?
I've got it. It's a bit of a strange one though.
Dear Baz and Tez, Lee Breers has had a bit of a disaster with his appearance. He has tried to cover it up, but it's knocking his confidence on and off the field. Could you come and visit? Love, Gina.
Hello.
What's the matter?
Gina's
What's the matter with you, lad?
Gina said you didn't need her a bit of a makeover.
Yeah,
well, not in front of the cameras. Just these.
Let's have a look. Ooh, why don't we see that guy, that Dr. Fillingham?
He should be able to sort them out.
It's all around the corner. Come on.
Okay.
So obviously, Brazy, you've been at Warrington for 10 years now. That's a big achievement. How does that feel, mate?
Feels good, obviously. 97 when I come, and if you would have asked me then, would it be in 10 years? And probably wouldn't have thought about that, but yeah, it's a massive achievement, especially being at ups and downs we've had here. Yeah, really tough for that.
I always remember as a young 18-year-old kid making your debut for St Helens at Central Park.
Lee Briers is the half-back in place of suspended Bobby Goulding.
I was awful breaking through that year, and it probably come a bit quicker than I thought. And I was playing with a lot of class players, so it helped me a lot. And I knew
Which players stand out to you then?
Obviously, Chris Joyce was a big help to me, a real big help to me. And Kieran Cunningham.
Alan Langer must have had a big influence.
Alfie was the biggest one on my career. He's obviously helped me a lot. He taught me how to take a team around the park.
Langer's got it off him! 1-on-1! It'll be a try, this!
He taught me Lord Alfie, obviously Chua and Nick Cow as well. So there's been a few.
And over the years, you'd be delighted how the Warrington fans have taken you to the heart.
Yeah, obviously. Really tough for the fans. They always support me. Obviously, when you're not going well, they let you know about it. But most times, it's been good. They're a real good bunch, and they really support me. My testimonial there.
And how can fans get on to supporting and find out what's coming up, forthcoming events?
They can log on to. I've got my own website. I feel quite important with a website now. You know.
Sounds very important.
Especially from a guy from a rough part of St Helens, if there is one.
Hello, Dr. Fillingham.
Oh, hello.
This is the gentleman in question that we just wondered if you can do anything with.
I can't work miracles, but I'll see what I can do.
You've been on gas?
It's something with nothing. I think we've got a bit of a problem with this one. And this one. That one. And in fact, I think I could take them all out.
Baz, are you sure about this guy?
He looks professional enough. He's a doctor. He's got letters after his name. In fact, I think we should do it as well.
Well, that's good enough for me then. If you two are having it done, I'll have it done.
Open widely! We won't be needing that anymore. Really, just one more local incision and you should be right to go. Shut up, you big girl. I think they're all done now, Lee. What do you think?
Belting. Face of an angel. Hollywood smile.
Another happy, satisfied customer.
Well, Dr. Fillingham was played by Rob Parker, in case you were wondering, and Lee Briers, Barry and Terry having a bit of fun. And who would have thought, gentlemen, that in 1995 a young man called Lee Briers would have become a Briers for Britain by 2006?
Ah, yes. I've never heard of another Briers, have you?
No.
You know, Richard Briers, the actor, isn't it? I'm with you. I think we should make him Briers again.
Briers?
Yeah.
Lee Briers from here on in.
And I think Bobby Goulding was still spelt with a Y in those days as well.
I think he was. Yeah. And Barry was probably spelt with a Y as well.
I think so.
Things change. If you were with us last week, you'll have seen highlights of the second test between the British Academic Lions and the Australian universities. The British won the game to take the Carnegie Student Ashes into a deciding match. It was held as the curtain raiser to last Sunday's Wakefield-Huddersfield clash at Bellevue. Ben Pro with the details.
Having squared the series in last Wednesday's thrilling second test, Great Britain ultimately came up short in a low-scoring Student Ashes decider at Bellevue. In terrible conditions, the Australia universities struck after just 8 minutes, punishing a knock-on deep in British territory as second-row Milton Janush's angled run and pass set up the opening try for fellow Queenslander Liam Capewell. It was deja vu after half-time, same minute, same scorer, as man of the match Capewell claimed his second. Scrum half James McLeod began the move with a sidling run and kick, and Lions centre Nicky Walker couldn't gather a slippery ball before Capewell pounced. There were only 4 minutes left when the Academic Lions clawed their way back into the match. Second row Mark Spur drove deep into the heart of the green and gold defence, and although Barry Earle was held up, a quick play the ball and clever inside pass from Ian Gordon led to Liam Gilbin, one of 10 Leeds Met representatives in the home 17, powering over to narrow the deficit to 4 points. It wasn't enough though, and Australia held on to retain the Student Ashes with a 2-1 series win.
There we go, the Australians winning again at student level, but a great series by the looks of things against the British Academic Lions. Just before we move on, I've got an email here from Lee Jones of Widnes, just wondering, he says, when you and Steve-O are going to stand down and let Terry and Barry take over. Well, I wish his agent would, or their agent would stop getting in touch with us via the email during the course of these programmes every week. Young players, Andy, they're coming through, it would appear.
Natural link with Terry and Barry.
Change direction.
Yeah, we've talked about Warrington Salford, haven't we? And I think Kevin Penny's the trigger for all this, really. 19-year-old lad. Thrown into the team because of an injury crisis, and he scored 9 tries in 6 games, and great tries as well. And he is the most obvious one, but everywhere you look, I was watching your coverage of Saints and Leeds the other week, and that game was terrific for the way they all seem to be young players having a big impact on the game. You looked at Clough and Matty Smith in that key scrum half position for Saints. Tyra had a great game, didn't he, on the wing. Leeds have always got loads of kids, so they are encouraging and heartening times, really.
We keep our fingers crossed for the future, don't we, Dave? And we have news today, actually, that Kevin Penny is going to be staying on a new contract at the Halliwell Jones, keeping him there at Warrington until the end of 2011. They're likening him down there to the new Martin Offiah. Do you think that's a bit too much pressure?
I think he's the most exciting winger since Martin Offiah, and I'm delighted that they signed him on an extended contract, because I think clubs will be buzzing around him very quickly, especially rugby union. They like the looks of young outside backs of that sort of calibre. I think he's a terrific prospect. I thought the third try that he scored, wonderfully imaginative piece of play from Lee Briers, of course. Big kick downfield on the first tackle. You think, what's he playing at? And he took 30 yards off the Salford defenders, who weren't the slowest men on the field by any means. Just magical stuff. So I'm a huge fan of Kevin Penny. I think he's going to be a terrific name. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about him and his tries over the next few years.
And yet another name of these youngsters that we're talking about who's coming through into Super League, and the talent is rich, isn't it?
It is.
Great vein.
The other one I've been hugely impressed with this season, is a strong candidate for Young Player of the Year, I think, is Sam Burgess at Bradford, who I think has got it all for a young prop forward. He's got size, he's got some pace, he's got a bit of a step on him, he's got wonderful hands, seems to have a great attitude. I don't see how he can fail.
Well, maybe if Kevin Penny scores another 11 tries and Warrington are in the playoffs and Wakefield aren't, you never know.
It would be a late surge, wouldn't it? But, it's a possibility. You can't rule him out. It's been a sensational impact that he's made. He didn't get any passes until the last 10 minutes of that game. Then suddenly he got 2 and went over, and then the third one from the kick. A hat-trick in 8 minutes. It's special stuff.
I'm glad you mentioned the awards at the end of the season, the Man of Steel ceremony, of course, where we named the Young Player of the Year and the Man of Steel. I've got an email here from Wakefield. Dave and Andy, in a couple of months it'll be that time again when the Man of Steel will be awarded. But when will the RFL Super League body finally start to recognise team outside the Big Four? For me, Jason Demetriou has been head and shoulders the most underrated player in Super League. He has all the qualities and desire of a Man of Steel, but we know that Wakefield is not fashionable enough. It's from John Keir. No, it's not. It's from Chris of Wakefield. Actually, John raised this name, Jason Demetriou, as a possible Man of Steel on the match with us last weekend. He is a contender, he must be.
He's a decent shout, yeah, and he's been underrated for so long, hasn't he, Dimitri? He's been there, and he was there when they got to the playoffs, what was that now, 4 or 5 years ago under Shane McNally, and he's been the constant, really, while other people have been up in ship, to be honest, haven't they, from Wakefield, but he's hung around, he's captain now, a really good leader of the team, I think. So yeah, a contender. There are lots of others, aren't there? And I think the thing about Man of Steel is it tends to be decided from now on. I think there are lots of contenders jostling around at the moment, but no one to me has made that award their own yet, and that's going to happen in the run into deciding who finishes where and in those early rounds of the playoffs.
And if you're going to be Man of Steel, Dave, you've got to be playing in the playoffs, haven't you?
Well, it'd be very unusual not to be, yes. I think. And there's every chance that Wakefield could be there where they're placed at the moment. And Dimitri has been terrific this season, and that element of leadership that he's brought through some fairly trying times this season as well. Not been an easy season for him all the time. He's led from the front very well. I think probably Trent Barrett is the favourite at the moment. I think
you think so? What about Paul Wellens? Did you see anyone better than him? Obviously Barrett, you do.
He's in the mix, isn't he? But I think Barrett week after week is so outstanding in the team that he's playing in. If Wigan make the playoffs and have a bit of a crack at it, you'll say who's that down to, and the short answer will be Trent Barrett.
As you say, there's a whole host of players who are in the mix at the moment. Gareth Ellis of Leeds comes to mind.
I think it's there to be won at the moment.
Yes, absolutely. We have an email in from Chris Hughes. This is an interesting point. He says, suggested rule change. Remove the requirement for defenders to stand square at the play of the ball, which is redundant because of the rule change a few years ago, preventing the tackler from striking for the ball with his foot when it's played. If the two defending players could stand shoulder to shoulder, it would cut out the controversial penalty awards and produce more open play by making it harder to make easy yards with runs from dummy half. Interesting.
It would certainly make it harder. Whether that would improve the game or not, I don't know, but it would make it harder to go from dummy half. It's been largely ignored this season. An awful lot of defences have been allowed to get away with standing not quite shoulder to shoulder, but certainly not in line.
And
it's already happening.
Yeah, another one he's got here. Put some curb on organised gang tackles aimed at pushing the ball carrier over his own line or into touch. I mean, that's been a contentious issue for a couple of years, hasn't it? Last year, as soon as anyone lended weight, the tackle was called held. Now you can just carry on.
With all these things, it's simplicity for me, and they both sound a bit complicated, and it might well be that they're very good when you get your head around them. The one that annoys me is the knock-on when the referee has to read players' minds, and was he trying to make a tackle, was he trying to dislodge the ball? And actually, when it's discussed, people always go back to the kick into touch that ricochets off a defender, and it wouldn't be consistent. But I don't see what's wrong with that. If the ball comes off a defender and goes into touch, anyone watching that thinks, well, that must be the attacking team's ball. I think because the country grows up watching football, and that's what's in football.
That's right.
And we just make things unnecessarily complicated. I think there's too many people tinker. Keep it simple.
James Burgess of Manchester rushes to the defence of Wigan and the salary cap business. Here we go again. He says, looking at Wigan about salary cap, other clubs have sinned more than once, but it's always Wigan who are guilty before the hearing. Castleford moaning about Wigan, but did they lose 6 out of 7 in the run-in at the end of the season? And that's why they went down. One word, jealousy for all the cups we won. Saints and Bradford can win everything, but nobody says that this is not fair. So people do have a soft spot for Wigan all over the country, and I think we made the point again last week, well, if the money's available, why not let them spend it? Why not let all the clubs spend whatever they want?
Well, Wigan are the biggest name in rugby league still, and you notice that when you go down to Harlequin, say they're the ones that draw Londoners out, for instance, to come and watch it. So you don't underestimate the value of Wigan to the competition by any means. But you let Wigan and indeed other clubs who have great wealth behind them spend what they want, you finish up with what you had before. You finish up with 2 or 3 teams miles away from everybody else, and the game has made a decision that it doesn't want that, and if it doesn't want that, it has to police a proper salary cap.
Do you think that the cap should be lifted, Andy?
Yeah, I do actually. I think there's enough people in the game who are suggesting that to make you think that it probably needs to be. I'm not sure by much, but a little bit next year and then a bit more the year after when we go to the licences. I'd like to think the game can support that. There's also a big debate about the number of teams in the competition at the moment, isn't there? A lot of momentum for 14 because people think Widnes and Cass are so strong they should be in there, and we've got 14 strong clubs. The crunch on that to me is that we don't move the goalpost mid-season. We lost so much credibility when we used to do that, and it's not happened for a decade now. So let's keep solid and keep the integrity of the competitions, and if it's going to happen, have a proper think about it and do it at the right time.
Paul Cunningham in Widnes would agree with you. He says, given the gap between Castleford and Widnes and the rest of the National League One, don't you think it would be sensible to promote both teams to Super League at the end of this season? It's up for debate, obviously, if they move to 14 teams. Here comes another 80-second challenge now. A little bit of fun in the programme where we try and find out Super League's brainiest star. It's Bradford Bulls' turn this week. So step forward, Paul Deacon and Andy Lynch. By the way, this was all filmed a couple of weeks ago, so Rod Studd's questions really were up to date at the time.
Michael, Andy, thanks for taking the 80-second challenge. Michael, give us a go on the horn. Andy, the bell. OK, gents, your 80 seconds starts now. Where will the Challenge Cup semi-final between Bradford and St Helens be played? Andy.
Huddersfield.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. By winning the first 2 matches of the series, who won the State of Origin in Australia this year?
Queensland.
Matty, yes, Queensland is right. Who is the current UK Prime Minister? Andy.
Tony Blair.
Wrong.
Gordon Brown.
Absolutely right, Platty. Who is the leading point scorer in Super League 12?
Paul
Platty.
Deacon.
Paul Deacon is right. Can you name the only Super League team that Bradford have not beaten?
St Helens.
Platty. That's right, St Helens. The current cinema hit starring George Clooney, Brad Pitt and Matt Damon?
Ocean's 13.
Ocean's 13, Andy is right. True or false, since Brian Noble joined Wigan, the Warriors have never beaten the Bulls? Andy. False, see, they have done. England's cricketers have been playing the West Indies this summer. Who is the captain of the 5-day test team, Andy?
Vaughan.
Michael Vaughan is right, Andy. Who has the lowest number in Bradford's 2007 squad list? Platty. Quickly, Andy.
32.
No, both wrong. Number one, Marcus St Hilaire. After his try against Leeds, how many has Leslie Vinocola scored for Bradford?
15.
No, 149. I couldn't give you that. Sorry, Andy. It's my fault. How many eyes in Vinocola? Andy.
3.
No.
2.
2 is right, Platty. The Bulls' highest score of Super League 12 came on 11th of March, 56-18. Salford is absolutely right. According to the AA, how far is it from Grattan Stadium to Headingley Carnegie? Mile either way? Platty?
40 miles.
Wrong.
16.
No, it's only 11 and a half. What is the minimum number of games? We'll finish the question. Minimum number of games needed to win a men's singles match at Wimbledon?
4.
Lynchy.
5.
No.
6.
Number of games?
If he gets it wrong, I get it
yeah,
right.
Yeah, pluck a number out quickly.
8.
No, 18 games. Right, okay, winning this score. Michael Platt 6, Andy Lynch 4.
Yes!
And Paul Deakin doing a very good impression of Michael Platt. 6-4, Michael Platt was the winner. That's the Bradford Bulls 80-second challenge. OK, let's move on to overseas quota now on the emails. This is from Alan in Warrington. Can you tell me the quota is to be reduced in 2008? How will clubs like Warrington do it? Because they've got 4 players coming next year, plus the ones they already have. I know by 2011 there can only be 5 overseas players, but will they stick to that rule? Well, I think they will stick to that rule. Next year it's 10, isn't it?
It's 10, and that's one real thing that slipped in, hasn't it? You know, we didn't really notice that at first, but up to 10 next year is disappointing. I know you've got strong views on this, haven't you, Dave? You're not very confident in the club's ability to stick to it.
Well, this whole farce about the points deduction makes me wonder whether clubs are going to really stick to this united front when it comes to the salary cap as well, because there will be loopholes in that. There's a loophole now, I think, over players who might be brought up and learn the rugby in Australia but were born over here. Do they count or don't they count? They say it's going to be considered on an individual basis, but makes you wonder if the whole thing could come crashing down as well.
What did you say? Keep it simple?
Yeah, well, yeah. on this point, actually, vaguely linked, I'm told that Ben Jeffries is confirmed he's going to leave Wakefield in the next 24 hours for next season. One of the things that is making him more attractive is he's about to become a British citizen. So, you know, he won't count on the quota, we don't think. But I'm not quite sure whether he's quota or not. I mean, with 10, clubs have got plenty, haven't they? But the value of someone like a Ben Jeffries, a guy with a British passport who's an Australian, I'm not quite sure if it's still there or not, or whether it will be in a couple of years. As Dave says, there's a lot to become clear on that. But obviously that's one for Wakefield. Must be looking at another scrum half for next season.
And where does Maxime Gressek come into it? I mean, what is he? He's a European, so...
There was the federation word was used, wasn't
yes.
it? And are we all European
Were you on
federation?
the programme when we had Tony Ray on?
It made sense then.
He did.
Yeah.
We were all saying, hooray, this is fantastic. You know, they're getting the number of overseas players down, number of youngsters coming through up.
And I think that's true in the end.
Sudden.
Because the one thing we haven't mentioned is there was the overseas players were going down and the young ones were coming up, weren't they?
Yes.
So that the young ones coming up, perhaps that's going to help the scales there.
I think Gressek counts as homegrown. It's done by federation, by European federation, so he would count as one of your homegrown players.
Even though he's only... I think he's only on at Wakefield till the end of the season,
yes,
isn't he?
Yes.
But
if it was here as a permanent signing, he would count as homegrown, as I understand it, yeah.
Are you going to tell us where Ben Jeffries is going, or is that...
I don't know. I don't think he knows yet. I think Penrith have been the watch, but I think he's more likely to stay in this country, and he will be an attractive proposition, I think. All that's been decided so far is he's leaving Wakefield, so...
That's to be a big loss for Wakefield, because he and Rooney make a formidable partnership, don't they?
They do, and you mentioned Gressek. It'll be interesting tomorrow night at Leeds, won't it? You know, whether Gressek gets a shout there, because he's been there a few weeks now. There's talk that he might get a game soon. They've got Sam Obst, I think, coming out of contract as well this year. So there are going to be some changing times. One bloke they have signed is Tony Martin, the centre from New Zealand Warriors, who you know, is a good player, good goal-kicking player. Had a couple of stints with London Broncos, didn't he? I think he's going there. So they're obviously already recruiting well for next year, Wakefield.
Good enough. OK. Graham and Margaret Hanson from Galashiels, probably the final email of the night. My wife and I are the only people on the planet who are fed up with the constant stream of water carriers, physios, and for all we know, fortune tellers running on and off the field during play. They have tried to stop this, haven't they? The authorities. They've tried to curb the number of water carriers on the field.
It always amazes me how irritating people find this. I mean, to me, it's a matter of supreme irrelevance, really, provided they don't actually get in the way like one did at Huddersfield last season and effectively make a tackle, provided they don't do that. It's not really a huge issue as far as I'm concerned. But they did announce at the start of this season it was going to be much reduced, and it doesn't seem to have been. There's seen plenty of people going on, and they don't even pretend that they're not taking on instructions.
Well, at least they're not on as often now as Gary Mercer used to be when he was running on as assistant to... Was it his assistant to Castleford? He was never off the field.
To Graham Steadman, was it, I think, yeah.
Never off the field. He was on the field more then than he was a player.
Tackle count of 35.
But you're right, I remember the guy at Huddersfield. He did get in the way, although Huddersfield claimed it was a pure accident at the time.
Well, it probably was, yes, but I mean, that's the danger that you run. But as far as them going on and doing their job and even running on with messages, it doesn't affect my enjoyment of the game personally.
Well, it doesn't seem to go down too well with Graham and Margaret Hanson in Galashiels. Hope we've answered your question, Graham and Margaret. It's almost time to put the toys away again, but before we depart the scene here in Rochdale, I hope you're continuing to make a date to join Steve-O on a Thursday afternoon at 2:45 to preview all the Super League action. to come with our colleagues on Sky Sports News. He was there earlier on today. And on a Sunday night from 9:30, Tony Ray is there with our Sky Sports News colleagues to review the weekend action. Boots and All's online. It's available every Monday evening from 7. The programme is also available on the Anytime service on Sky. For more details, please go to anytime.sky.com and it will tell you all that you need to know. And now let's take a look at our live games that are coming up this weekend. Saints against Wigan, that's on Sky Sports 1 and HD1 from 7:30 on Friday night. And on Saturday, it's Salford against Bradford from 6 o'clock, and that's on Sky Sports 2 and in high definition on HD2. And next Thursday, we have more live action in our Boots and All special. It's from the top of the National League 2 this time, as Featherstone Rovers take on Celtic Crusaders, and you can watch that on Sky Sports 2 at 7:30. So all that's to come over the next week or so. All that is left for me is to thank Dave and Andy for being here tonight and chewing the cud about rugby league matters. I wonder what we will be talking about next week in this big, wide, wonderful world of rugby league. Anything can happen, of course. And don't forget, something has happened here at Dewsbury tonight, at Rochdale tonight. Dewsbury have won by 36 points to 12. From all of us, bye-bye.
More sport, news and views at skysports.com.